Chapter 2489. Ning Shu got goosebumps from the old lady's gaze. She usually ignored this granddaughter-in-law. Anyway, this granddaughter-in-law was taught by her mother-in-law. Now that she looked like this, could it be that the old monk said something that made the old lady misunderstand? Ning Shu asked directly, "Madam, what did the monk say? Did it have anything to do with my granddaughter-in-law?" The old lady said, "The monk said you're blessed and bring good fortune to your husband." Ning Shu chuckled in his heart. This blessing was exchanged for by the soul energy of the person who asked for it. In exchange for the prosperity of the house of Marquis and the fate of the person who asked for it. Without the soul energy, the person who asked for it might not even be able to give birth to another person in the next life. Ning Shu immediately smiled shyly. "Thank you, madam. I don't have much good fortune. With you around, that's my true fortune." The old lady was very kind. She looked at Ning Shu with satisfaction. Ning Shu bowed and left quickly. The old lady grounded Aunt Yen in the courtyard and did not allow her to come out. The old lady recited scriptures for a long time in front of the merciful Guanyin Bodhisattva. Then she decided to beat Aunt Yen to death. Then she would invite the monk to expiate her sins. For the safety of the house of Marquis, she could only be the bad person for once and atone for her sins. Aunt Yen was speechless. After experiencing so many worlds, this was the most dramatic ancient person he had ever seen. She was always mysterious and he did not know what she wanted to do. Now, she was treated like a demon. As for the Marquis and the Crown Prince's illness, it was a cold according to modern terms. It was all because of the flu. It had nothing to do with him. Aunt Yen decided to leave the house of Marquis. It was easy for him to do that. He just had to use a big move and everyone in the house of Marquis fainted. Ning Shu fell to the ground and used all his strength to set up a barrier. Damn it, the lower the level of the plane, the greater the restriction. Aunt Yen opened the gate of the house of Marquis and wanted to leave. She bumped into the barrier as if she had bumped into a brick. Aunt Yen touched her head and touched the invisible barrier. She quickly asked the system, "What's going on? I can't get out." The system said, "It's a barrier." Was it set up by those monks? Are there really such powerful people in this era? Hurry up and break the barrier. Let's go. The people here are crazy. Concubine Yen held her forehead and said, "I'll give it a try." The system said, "If it doesn't work, we'll leave this world. There is no mission that I cannot complete. I will only leave this world when I have no other choice." Concubine Yen said, as someone who could collect energy perfectly every time, she definitely wouldn't back down just because of a little difficulty. The man who traveled through time would never admit defeat. Ning Shu had spent a lot of effort to set up a small barrier, but it was broken. Ning Shu fell to the ground and gritted his teeth to set up another barrier. He then dripped some green water into the bodies of the unconscious people. The unconscious people slowly woke up. Ning Shu also pretended that he had just woken up, with a confused and stupid look on his face. As soon as the old madam woke up, she immediately thought that the evildoer must have used a witchcraft on them, which was why everyone was unconscious. The old madam felt that the responsibility on her shoulders was incomparably heavy. She was already so old, but she still had to worry. Concubine Yen was still breaking the barrier at the door when the old madam rushed to the door with a group of servants. "Capture her!" The old madam pointed at Concubine Yen and shouted loudly. The old madam's body wasn't very good, but she could still be so energetic. It was all because of the liquid that was filled with vitality. Although it was only one drop, it was enough to revitalize her body. The old madam's condition had never been better. Concubine Yen was speechless. Why did she wake up so quickly? The system's ultimate move was useless. What a scam! The servants surrounded Concubine Yen. Concubine Yen sighed silently. She tidied up her clothes and said to the old madam, "Is this necessary?" The old madam was expressionless. "Evildoer. I came here for a mission. Once it's completed, I will leave. There is no need for you to do anything." Concubine Yen was a bit annoyed. Why did they have to make things so complicated? Were they crazy? Evildoer harmed the Marquis's manner. The great master was right. The old madam's expression was cold. Her eyes were filled with deep hatred for concubine Yen. Ning Shu, who had just arrived, heard this and was speechless. You could leave after completing the mission, but people who were robbed of their fate usually didn't have a good ending. Although all living things were equal, some people were born with fate. They would always have a better life than ordinary people. When this fate disappeared, they would no longer be able to bear the glory and wealth. Of course, their family would be ruined or their family would fall. Ning Shu thought about it again. Did concubine Yen not know what she was collecting? She was only talking about energy. But did she know what this energy was? The system probably told concubine Yen to find a man with fate. As for why, the system didn't say. No one in the world would do something so strenuous and unrewarding. The system wouldn't do something like this either. Was the system really so kind as to let you travel through different planes so that you could have a casual relationship with all kinds of men? It would even turn from a casual relationship into the love of the chosen man's life. This kind of person was clearly here to rob someone of their fate. Why were they being so unreasonable and annoying? Don't disturb me. The servants rushed forward, wanting to grab concubine Yen. In the end, when they got close, they were all sent flying. They fell to the ground and fainted. The old madam and the marquis's wife looked at concubine Yen in horror. You, what kind of sorcery did you use? Concubine Yen charmingly stroked her hair. As a woman, of course she was very beautiful. However, when Ning Shu thought that her soul was a man's, he felt very disgusted. He didn't feel too good. The old madam didn't know what to do. This woman could use sorcery. Others couldn't get close to her at all. Ning Shu set up a barrier around concubine Yen so that she couldn't move. Concubine Yen suddenly felt that her body was bound by something. She found that she couldn't move. She hurriedly said to the system, "Why can't I move? It seems to be a barrier." Were the people here really so powerful? The system was a bit scared. It was actually a very weak system. Otherwise, it wouldn't use such a direct method to rob the fate of heaven and earth. Then help me remove the barrier. I can't move. I'm going to be caught and beaten to death. He looked at the old madam staring at him like a wolf. It looked like she wanted to eat him alive. I'll try. The system said weakly. It had used up a lot of energy to break the barrier. Chapter 2490. I can't break it, the system said weakly. Concubine Yen was speechless. What's going on? This damned system. Is there any other way? Concubine Yen felt like she was tied up by thousands of ropes. She couldn't move at all. Ning Shu dripped some water on the unconscious servant on the ground. The servant shook his head and woke up. Catch her. The old madam pointed at concubine Yen. The servant was afraid and didn't dare go forward. After all, the other party was a demon who could use witchcraft. I'll do it myself. The old madam was a rich madam. Now she had to do it herself. Concubine Yen watched as the old madam walked over with her walking stick. She raised the stick and knocked it down on her head. Although concubine Yen was in this body, she felt like her head was going to explode from the pain. Her eyes rolled back and she fainted. The old madam felt a little guilty. But when she saw that she had knocked the demon unconscious, she didn't feel so scared anymore. She was indeed protected by Bodhisattva. Tie her up. The old madam saw that she was the only one in the family who could fight. She felt lonely and pressured. The granddaughter-in-law didn't say anything. Although she was stupid, she had a good life. Daughter-in-law. She was so blind that she had stuffed such a vixen into her grandson's room. If she hadn't caused trouble, would all this have happened? The servant tied up the unconscious concubine Yen tightly and locked her up. The room's windows were boarded up and the door was locked with 2 locks. Ning Shu praised the old madam. Old madam, you're so powerful. Even the servant couldn't get close to you. You actually knocked her out. You're really lucky. Even demons and ghosts are afraid of you. After all, they were 1 generation apart. The old madam didn't treat the client as harshly as the marquise. She urged the client to have a child every day and attacked the client from every angle. If the client didn't have a child, they weren't fit to be a woman. The old madam smiled. In the future, if anyone comes to the marquise manor, you have to be careful. Don't let anyone like this enter the manor. Ning Shu sighed and glanced at concubine Yen, who was lying on the bed like a caterpillar. Now she couldn't get out. She couldn't obtain luck from other men to strengthen the system. She couldn't escape. When the time came, where would she go to find him? With so many planes, it would be very difficult to find him. In any case, Ning Shu didn't take the lead in this mission. It was all thanks to the old madam. The Marquise was probably furious. She wasn't in the right state of mind the whole time. Ning Shu moved closer to the matriarch and asked, "Old madam, I don't think we should treat concubine Yen like this. Now that father-in-law and the heir are both sick, they will be angry if they find out that we treated concubine Yen like this." The old madam glared at Ning Shu. Useless. Since they don't want to give up, then let's see what kind of demon this concubine Yen is. I don't believe that men will be so loyal to a woman who eats humans. Ning Shu, the old madam is so mighty. When concubine Yen woke up, she found that she was tied up. The room was dark and the windows were sealed. The room was covered with talismans. There were all kinds of drawings on the talismans. Concubine Yen was speechless. She wasn't a demon. Even if the talismans were real, they wouldn't work on her. She was very cautious when she came to this world. She didn't expect that she would still be treated like an alien. It would be better if she was in the modern world. If something was discovered in the modern world, people would at most say that she was sick. It wasn't like the ancient world where she was treated like a monster or a demon. "Can you untie me?" Encountering such a deceitful system was one of the toughest things in her life. Although she didn't have to turn a man gay if she transmigrated into a woman, there were many restrictions. She might as well transmigrate into a man and turn a man gay. Even a man with a straight iron bar could turn into a mosquito coil. It was one thing to become a woman, but she was still a concubine. This was just a plaything. Master could do whatever he wanted with her. Even if you untie her now, how are you going to get out? This room is sealed. You might as well find a chance to sneak out, said the system. Then can't I just leave? Concubine Yen was really sick of this world. Women in the ancient world were virtuous, but when it came to women who stole their husbands, they would do all kinds of harm. She hated them in her heart, but she still had to pretend to be magnanimous. Wasn't she afraid that her heart would become twisted? The energy of this world isn't full, so you can't leave, said the system weakly. It sounded really pitiful. Concubine Yen rubbed her face. She was really helpless against such a weak system. She felt that the system was just like a child. Concubine Yen could only look at the sky helplessly. She looked at the ceiling. Her stomach was growling. No one gave her anything to eat when she was hungry. Would they burn her to death? Although he was also a man, he had to admit that men were really unreliable. What these men said in bed was really fake. Now that he was tied up like this, no one came to see him, let alone say a word to save him. It seemed like she could only save herself. The next day, the weather was fine. The old madam brought Ning Shu and the Marquis's wife to a sealed room. The Marquis and the Crown Prince were also supported by the manservant. The whole family was here. "Mother, what are you doing? Tying me up?" The Marquis's face was red. It was obvious that he hadn't recovered yet. His body was weak. Even the Crown Prince's chin was thin and sharp. When he saw his beloved woman tied up like this, he immediately looked at his mother and wife with condemnation. The Marquis's wife didn't want to say anything. Her son and husband were both unreliable. What was there to look forward to in this life? Although her heart was dead, when she saw her son looking at her like this, she felt really bad. She hated concubine Yen for seducing her husband and son. A mother spent 5 years to teach a child how to put on his pants. A wife only needed 5 seconds to make a man take off his pants. As a mother, the last thing she wanted to see was a man forgetting about his mother when he had a wife. Now the Marquis's wife was experiencing this. Moreover, this woman was given to her son by her. This feeling was even more heartbreaking. Compared to this situation, the Marquis's wife would rather force her son to have a child with her daughter-in-law than give her son a woman. This made her lose face in front of the old madam. Her daughter-in-law might also resent her. Both her son and her husband hated her. The Marquis's wife's heart was cold. "Mother, what are you doing?" the Marquis said weakly. The old madam ignored her son. She asked the manservant to bring 2 chairs for the 2 sick men to sit down and watch the show. If she killed her directly, the 2 men in the family would hate her. That woman would always be in their hearts. Chapter 2491. Old Madam Yen was no longer a teenage girl. Every day, she would think about what her crush would be like. Would he be a handsome man or a hero? Old Madam Yen had gone from anticipation to disappointment, from despair to calmness. She had experienced the days of being intimate with her husband. She had bitterly endured her husband's coldness and watched him sleep in the concubine's room. Old Madam Yen believed that she understood men. No matter how important a woman was, she was not as important as a man. Moreover, he was a man of high status and wealth. Naturally, he cherished his life. If his life was threatened by a concubine, no matter how charming his thoughts were, they would dissipate. Beat him to death and then cremate him. Old Madam Yen ordered a burly servant to press him against a wooden board. Beat him to death. Aunt Yen was speechless. Damn, ancient women were so cruel. They wanted to beat people to death so easily. The servant held a stick as thick as an arm and hit concubine Yen with all his might. Aunt Yen, whose mouth was covered, was sweating profusely from the pain. Her beautiful face was a little distorted. Damn, what should I do now? If I don't fight back, I'll really be beaten to death. Aunt Yen communicated with the system. The system was also very anxious. But I used my power in front of those 2 men. Isn't this confirming that you're a demon? Can those 2 men protect you? Can they protect you when they know you're a demon? But if I don't do anything, I'll really be beaten to death. Beaten to death and turned into ashes? Aunt Yen said anxiously. Although I don't really care about this body, it's so embarrassing to be beaten to death. Bear with it. Don't give yourself away in front of those 2 men. The system comforted Aunt Yen. If this body really dies, we can find another one. Because the energy bar isn't full, we can't travel between planes. We'll all be in danger, the system said. Since this body couldn't take it anymore, they could find another one. Then they could stir up trouble again. No, they could continue to collect energy. Aunt Yen was speechless. So she was going to be beaten to death? Damn, this was a cruel way to die. Ning Shu looked at concubine Yen indifferently. She didn't resist. It didn't matter to him whether she resisted or not. If he resisted, everyone would know that he would use witchcraft. If he didn't resist, he would definitely be beaten to death. When the system left his body, it would be the time for the system to fight against the system. When the Marquis and the Crown Prince saw the wooden stick the size of an arm fall on concubine Yen, their eyes turned red. They wanted to rush over to save her, but they were held down by the servant. They were already sick and had no strength. He could only watch helplessly as the woman he liked was beaten. Mother, must you do this? The heir could only look at the Marquis with red eyes. The hatred and resentment in his eyes made the Marquis's heart turn cold. Ning Shu simply released some of his qi and directly bounced the servant who was punishing concubine Yen. The servant was bounced far away and hit the wall. He grimaced in pain. In the eyes of outsiders, the manservant was bounced away by an invisible force, and he was sent flying out of thin air. If this was not demonic art, then what was it? The Marquis had wanted to say something, but when he saw this scene, his words were stuck in his throat. He just stared blankly. Even concubine Yen was surprised. She hurriedly asked the system, "Did you use your power?" The system immediately cried out, "I didn't. Since I asked you to bear with it, why would I use my power? And in front of so many people. If you were a demon, these 2 men wouldn't protect you. You wouldn't be able to leave a deep mark in their hearts." Sometimes, the living could never defeat the dead. When the time came, she could change her identity and start over again. She could also lure these 2 men. What was going on? Concubine Yen felt that she was really unlucky. If she had known this would happen, she would have resisted from the beginning. Then she wouldn't have been beaten so many times. She felt as if her body was about to break. "Marquis, did you see that? This is the witch using witchcraft." The old madam was now glad that the old Marquis had died early. According to the old man's character, he might have happily fought with the goblins. At that time, it would be a family of 3 men entangling with a woman. Marquis's name would go down in history. No, it would go down in infamy for thousands of years. It would go down in history forever. This is a coincidence, the Marquis stammered. But he looked at Concubine Yen with a scrutinizing look. Concubine Yen was sweating all over and her face was pale. The Marquis' lips trembled. He wanted to say something, but no words came out. He looked at Concubine Yen with frightened eyes. He swallowed and asked, "Concubine Yen, are you really a demon?" Ning Shu pressed the corner of his mouth with a handkerchief to prevent his disdainful expression from showing. If women were more lovey-dovey, then the Marquis could be said to be very selfish. Women felt that as long as it was the person they loved, they could accept any kind of monster. But when men faced wild monsters or demons, they would be scared out of their wits. At that time, would they still think of being lovey-dovey? Concubine Yen frowned tightly. She couldn't figure out what was going on. The pain in her body blurred her mind. Her soul seemed to be ejected from this body. Seeing the Marquis and the Marquis's incredulous and frightened eyes, Concubine Yen was very unwilling to accept it. They used to call her a little goblin. But when she really became a little goblin, these 2 men looked so frightened. Concubine Yan's heart was in a mess. Although this was a whoring trip to the west, Concubine Yen suddenly felt a lot of grievances and unwillingness in her heart. Once he changed his identity, he would make sure that these 2 men would never be able to love him and would never forgive them. Although he approached the 2 of them with a purpose, he was still very angry and indignant after being hurt by the 2 of them. Master Ho and the Marquis looked conflicted. Their eyes flickered. Finally, Master Ho said to the old madam, "If she is really a demon, let her go. She won't kill people and commit evil." The old madam couldn't vent her anger. Finally, she said bitterly, "If we let her go, what if she comes back for revenge? We are all ordinary people. If we can stop a demon, do you want to roast everyone in the Marquis's mansion on fire?" Master Ho suddenly stopped talking. The Marquis was young and had never encountered such a thing. He shrank into a ball and didn't know what to say. He didn't expect that the woman who lived with him day and night was a demon who could absorb his essence and yang qi. Chapter 2495. Since they had already offended her, they had to get rid of her completely. Neither Master Ho nor the Crown Prince spoke. Compared to a woman, their lives and the safety of the whole mansion were more important. Seeing the 2 men like this, Concubine Yen showed a mocking and hopeless expression, which made the Crown Prince very uncomfortable. He couldn't help but say, "I want her. No matter who she is, whether she is a human or a monster, I like her." The old madam slammed her walking stick on the ground. "Are you crazy? Don't you want to live anymore? The evildoer will suck away all your yang energy. In the end, your soul will go to hell. Humans and demons are different." Ning Shu listened to the old lady's words and almost believed her. I. The Crown Prince shrank back again. He wanted to say something but didn't dare to. Concubine Yen was in so much pain that she felt like her body was about to break. She gritted her teeth. When she changed her identity, she would make the people of the whole mansion suffer. She would make the 2 men kneel down and beg for her forgiveness. "Continue beating her. If she dies, burn her," the old madam said in a low voice. There was a trace of viciousness in her hoarse voice. "Mother, you want the Tian family to know about your foolish behavior. Don't implicate so many people in Lord Ho's mansion because of this woman. You are not alone. You have to take care of so many people in Lord Ho's mansion. You have your responsibilities." Madam directly interrupted Master Ho. Master Ho shook his head helplessly. Ning Shu pressed the corner of his mouth with a handkerchief. He was better at pretending than the Crown Prince. He had already given up on Concubine Yen, but he still pretended to be helpless. He had his own responsibilities to fulfill and could only give up on her. The Crown Prince was so scared that his face turned ashen. Even if he begged for mercy, it was not persuasive at all. The board hit Concubine Yan's body heavily. Concubine Yen whimpered in pain. Everyone present felt a chill run down their spines, especially when they saw Concubine Yan's cold and resentful eyes. Ning Shu was the calmest. He was used to this kind of gaze. There was nothing wrong with concubine Yen. She was here to deprive others of their luck. What she did was to pull up her pants and ignore them. In the past, he was ruthless. Now, it was others who were ruthless to him. He felt very wronged. It was reasonable to be nice to you. Once you treated me badly, you were heartless and unreasonable. One had to be careful when driving, as it was easy to overturn the car. Ning Shu felt that he had to be extra careful when he was speeding. If he wasn't careful, he would overturn the car. Furthermore, martial prowess was extremely important. If he were to encounter such a situation again, he would definitely not allow himself to be tied up and beaten. It hurt so much. Can't we leave quickly and change to another body to fight? Being hit by such a big stick was really painful. They had to leave quickly. Wait a little longer. I'm looking for a suitable candidate. If it's an ugly girl, I'll have to waste energy to modify her body. I don't have enough energy to begin with, so I can't waste it. Otherwise, we'll have to stay here and can't leave. He could not stay here. In any case, he was an old fox who had transmigrated. How could he fall here? He had clearly walked the path of eating meat, but now he had to walk the path of fighting. He could not react for a moment. In his previous world, he spent most of his time in bed. Even if he wasn't in bed, he would be collecting energy. He hadn't paid attention to his mistakes. It seemed that it wouldn't be so easy to collect energy in the future. Only the heavy sound of the board hitting the body could be heard in the room. The old madam sneered. Look, the body of the evildoer is so strong. He's still alive. Concubine Yen spat out a mouthful of blood. Did she really think that he wanted to stay in this body? Didn't he feel pain? It was just that the system was now looking for the next suitable candidate. Gradually, Master Ho's face hardened. He was reluctant to part with her before, but now his reluctance was gone. Ordinary women couldn't bear so many beatings and would have died long ago. However, after so many beatings, he was still alive. Although he spat out blood, he wasn't dead. Master Ho's body was weak and he had fainted from overexertion. Ning Shu glanced at Master Ho. He had the heart but no guts. How useless. Didn't they say that even if he died under a peony, he would still be a romantic ghost? Have you found one? Concubine Yen gritted her teeth and asked the system, Can you hurry up? It hurt so much. How about the Shitsi princess? The system looked around and felt that the Shitsi princess was quite beautiful. She looked like a white lotus. If she had a black heart, it would be great. Puff. Concubine Yen spat out a mouthful of blood. What did you say? Actually, I've already scanned the surroundings. Apart from the maids, this Shitsi princess is the most beautiful. And you can take revenge. Isn't it good? The system said. You don't want the Shitsi princess? Do you want two old women? The old madam is already old. Madam Ho is going through menopause. She's already 30. That's not good, the system said. Why do we have to fight with Master Ho's family? Although I want to take revenge, I want to collect enough energy and leave this world. If I can't, I can be with someone more powerful. Wouldn't it be easier to take revenge? Concubine Yen spat out blood. She really admired the system. But I can't scan too much. The system said awkwardly. Anyway, there are 3 choices in front of you. Who should you choose? Concubine Yen felt like she was going to spit out all the blood. She gritted her teeth and said, The Shitsi princess. Everyone watched as Concubine Yen continued to spit out blood, but she didn't die. After being hit by so many boards, even a man in his prime would be on the verge of death. I'm going to send your soul into the Shitsi princess body. 2 souls in a body will repel each other, so you have to stay calm. Everything will be fine after I take the Shitsi princess soul, the system said to Concubine Yen. You've been talking for so long. Hurry up. Concubine Yen was about to explode. Damn it. The light in Concubine Yen's eyes became weaker and weaker. In the end, she was dying. Perhaps it was because of the world of reincarnation, but she could see a man's soul rushing towards her. Ning Shu. This was a bit helpless. It seemed that the other party wanted to choose a new body and try again. She didn't expect that he would come for her. Was there something wrong with his brain? Not to mention the existence of 2333, She also had the world of reincarnation. She could get him there in a minute. Ning Shu smiled at the man's soul. Then she pressed the corner of her mouth with a handkerchief, which made the man's hair stand on end. The soul looked like an ordinary man. She didn't know what these men, who were obsessed with her, would think if they knew. She really wanted to see the expressions of Master Ho and the Shitsi princess when they saw this soul. 2333 devoured the entire system without much effort. Chapter 2496. The aftermath of the battle between the two systems caused a gust of wind in the room. Everyone felt the evil wind blowing. But it was going to end soon. The old madam kept chanting Amitba. The evildoer was finally dead. Master Ho was a little reluctant before, but the wind in the room blew the tables and chairs everywhere. Obviously, the evildoer still wanted revenge after his death. It was about his life. No matter how reluctant he was, he had to let go now. Concubine Yen felt that she couldn't get close to the crown princess consort's body at all. The wind made her feel like her soul was being torn apart. She couldn't help but ask the system, "What are you doing?" I seem to have met the system. The crown princess consort also has the system. Concubine Yen was stunned. What was going on? Were the systems all together? The crown princess consort had the system. Why couldn't she see it at all? Did she really have a system? Concubine Yen didn't have a deep impression of the crown princess consort because she didn't have any children. She didn't have much power or presence in the mansion. How could she have a system? Who was she kidding? If the crown princess consort had a system, how could she watch the crown prince dote on her? In short, Concubine Yen didn't know much about the crown princess consort situation. What was the use of having a cheat like the ancient people? Wasn't it a waste of the system? Or was she secretly plotting against him? He couldn't move. And the ward was set up by the crown princess consort? He was doomed. Then run. What are you still doing here? Concubine Yen felt that her soul was about to be torn apart. Ning Shu looked at the man's soul. He was holding his head in pain. His face was so twisted that his ordinary face looked a little ugly. What should he do? Ning Shu really wanted Master Ho to see the man's soul and the beauty that they were obsessed with. The crown prince had already fainted. Ning Shu approached him and dripped a drop of green liquid to wake him up. The crown prince was still confused when he woke up. He was even more confused when he saw the strong wind around him. Ning Shu drew talismans with his hands behind his back. 2 talismans were reflected between the eyebrows of Master Ho and the crown prince. It was like opening the third eye for them. Master Ho and Crown Prince saw an almost transparent soul. It was the soul of a man. It was holding its head in pain. They were both stunned. Master Ho was still able to maintain his composure. However, the Crown Prince pointed at Concubine Yan's soul in horror. Why are you here? Are you a monster? The old madam and the marquise both looked at the place the air was pointing at, but there was nothing there. Could it be that he was possessed? Aunt Yen was speechless. What was going on? He had already become a soul, so how could the Crown Prince still see him? But the Crown Prince was truly frightened. If Concubine Yen had such a beautiful appearance, the Crown Prince wouldn't have cared even if she was an evildoer. After all, evildoers were just that beautiful. It wouldn't matter if some of their yang qi was absorbed. However, when he saw the soul of an ordinary man, could he be a monster? Furthermore, it was such an ordinary man. The Crown Prince suddenly felt a little uncomfortable in his stomach. With a thump, he fainted again. The old madam's face was solemn. Seeing her grandson suffer 2 consecutive blows, she couldn't bear it anymore. She leaned on her walking stick and said hatefully, "Evildoer, don't you dare hurt my grandson or my family. Otherwise, I will invite an eminent monk to destroy your soul so that you will never be reincarnated." Concubine Yan's soul was getting weaker and weaker. She couldn't contact the system anymore. The system made a sound like metal rubbing against each other, as if it was about to collapse. Concubine Yen felt that something was wrong. She looked at Ning Shu and said, "We are all outsiders. We are all in the same industry. Why do you have to be so ruthless?" Ning Shu was speechless. Who was in the same industry as you? They were never in the same industry. They could only be said to be experienced travelers. Master Ho's psychological endurance was probably at its limit. He fainted like his son and didn't have the chance to hear the rough and hoarse man's voice. What a pity. This psychological shadow would probably last for a long time. Even if he saw a beautiful girl, he would probably wonder if the beautiful girl's core was an ordinary and disgusting man. If he was gay, it would be fine. But a straight man wouldn't be able to bear it. Which family's evildoer would look like this? Liar, possessing a beautiful woman's body, does that make you beautiful? Obviously, Master Ho and the Crown Prince were still straight men. As for the future, they probably wouldn't dare to be gay. 2333, can you take it back? A weak system had to go through so much trouble to fight like this. Obviously, it could kill with one move, but it still had to fight like this. Wasn't it tiring? Ning Shu saw that he had achieved his goal. It deepened the fact that concubine Yen was an evildoer. She was already dead, but she could still stir up trouble. Let's see if Madame Ho would be nosy in the future and stuff another evildoer into her son's room. Madame Ho's hands were poisonous. If she did, the old madam would definitely interfere. Maybe she wouldn't let the Crown Prince take any more concubines. And the Crown Prince wouldn't have the guts to sleep with the woman his mother gave him. The Crown Prince and Master Ho probably wouldn't dare to touch women for a period of time, let alone men. Without these women to worry about, the client's life would definitely be much better. You can take it back, Ning Shu said to 2333. Anyway, the performance was over. The missions in this world weren't that complicated. The client could have wealth and status if they wanted. They also had good looks. All they had to do was relax. Sometimes, some things had to be said directly. In this situation, she couldn't have children by herself. She had to let everyone know that it was the Crown Prince's fault that she couldn't have children. The Crown Prince ignored her and stuffed women into her husband's room. Now, you're blaming me for not having children. Aren't you cruel? Don't you have a reason? Don't bear the pain that you shouldn't bear. Now, who would clearly say that it was her fault that she couldn't have children? 2333 didn't stand on ceremony and swallowed the system. In the end, he said with some disdain, "This system is so weak. Very weak." Ning Shu, how can it be so weak? In any case, it's through plundering the luck of these dragons and phoenixes. How can it be weak? How can this kind of behavior be good? Only when you get the heart of true love will you be strong and have more luck. Forget it, it's good enough that you have it. 2333 said with disdain and went into hibernation. Ning Shu. Damn, this felt like it was her fault. How could she know that the system was weak? She thought that it was an old fox that had transmigrated, but it turned out that the system was so weak. Is it my fault? The wind stopped. The room was blown into a mess. Everyone let out a sigh of relief. Chapter 2497. Was the demon dead? Ning Shu shrunk her body and went to Old Madam's side to ask, "Old Madam, was the demon destroyed by these charms?" The Old Madam was unsure, but she still said calmly, "Of course. The monk is very powerful." The Old Madam was also unsure. When she saw the two unconscious men, she couldn't help but roll her eyes. They were not even as brave as the three women. They fainted just like that. Hurry up and find a doctor to check on the Marquis and the heir. They must be frightened. Go to the temple and ask the monk to perform a ritual. Also, help them summon their souls. The Old Madam immediately ordered. Ning Shu, summon their souls? I thought they were children. The Old Madam quickly asked someone to find firewood and prepare to cremate concubine Yan's body. She was afraid that concubine Yan would come back to life and take revenge on the Marquis. Ning Shu didn't say anything and let the Old Madam do this. After doing this, everyone felt more at ease. As for the man's soul, it had been swallowed by 2333 along with the system. The mission was completed, but Ning Shu didn't know whether the client was satisfied or not. The main thing was that the client didn't have any wishes. Ning Shu didn't know what she wanted either. The client was very unwilling, but she didn't know what she wanted. Her heart was dead. This kind of mission was the most difficult. Furthermore, she had also tormented the Crown Prince. She did not know what the client was thinking. Some women didn't like it when others tortured their husbands. At this time, it depended on the client's generosity. Actually, the heir would be more obedient after being scared like this. As for whether he would have any psychological trauma from this woman, it depended on his own ability to mediate. An aristocrat only had this little psychological endurance. She looked down on him. If he was an ordinary person who hadn't seen much of the world, it would be reasonable for him to be scared like this. Concubine Yan's body was dragged to the courtyard. A thick pile of firewood was set up in the courtyard. The old madam's expression was cold as she watched Concubine Yan's body turn into ashes. When the body was burned, the air was filled with the fragrance of oil. It drifted with the wind. The old madam quickly covered her nose to avoid smelling these smells. When the corpse had turned into ashes, the old lady had people collect the ashes and put them in a jar. She then asked for a talisman from an eminent monk and pasted it on the jar. She donated a lot of incense money and placed the jar of ashes in the temple, letting the monks chant scriptures to help suppress the ashes. Because of this, the old madam gave her a mouthful. Ning Shu didn't say anything. That corpse was pure bone ash. There were no demons or ghosts in it. That man wouldn't come back. Not only that, the real concubine Yan's soul wouldn't come back either. A wild system would never show mercy to a target it needed to possess. It would directly devour the soul in the body to make room for its host. The devoured souls didn't even have a chance to counterattack. Speaking of which, the real concubine Yan was also very miserable. Ning Shu felt that just by absorbing these systems, the number of souls in them was enough to make 2,333 laugh. Ning Shu felt that this task was mostly completed by the old madam, so he condensed a drop of green vitality liquid and merged it with the old madam's body. It was a thank you gift. With the old madam around, the client would have a backer. Although her mother-in-law and the marquise didn't treat the client harshly, when it came to children, they would talk about it several times every day. No matter how cheerful a person was, they would get impatient when they talked about it every day. With the old madam watching over them, the client's life would be better. When they had children, the client would be able to live her own life. She didn't want to waste all her time on men. At this time, if she had a small hobby or something, she wouldn't be so worried about her gains and losses. Concubine Yan's matter was resolved. That night, the heir had a high fever. Moreover, it didn't go down. He kept talking nonsense, saying things like, don't eat me, and all kinds of nonsense. Although the marquis wasn't that bad, his situation wasn't much better. The marquise didn't leave the marquise's side to take care of the marquise. She cried and said, "You were bewitched by a vixen. Now you know how powerful she is. Get better quickly." The old madam warned all the servants in the marquis's household not to spread this matter. Also, the marquis's household was not allowed to discuss this matter. If it was found out, they would either be beaten to death or sold to a dirty place. The servants in the marquis's household were so scared that they trembled with fear. They didn't dare to discuss this matter. The three words, concubine Yen, became a taboo in the marquis's household. The old madam was speechless. At this time, they still had to rely on the women of the marquis's household. They had to take care of their son and grandson. Let's see if these men still dare to mess around. Ning Shu took care of the marquis. He saw that the marquis's face was red from the fever. He wouldn't become an idiot, would he? If he became an idiot, the client would feel sorry for himself and feel that he had a hard life. Ning Shu took out the fever medicine. He crushed it and put it in a spoon. He mixed it with water and fed it to the marquis. As for the marquis, whether he was alive or dead had nothing to do with her. If the marquis died, the marquis's title would fall to the marquis. The client would become the marquis's wife with a title. Life would be good. If the marquis didn't die, it wouldn't affect the client. After all, a father-in-law couldn't control his daughter-in-law. If he dared to mess around again, the old madam wouldn't let him go. The marquis's household was very important to the marquis's household. For the old madam who had experienced ups and downs, nothing was more important than power and wealth. For the marquis's household, even if he was an evildoer, she would still kill him. As long as the marquis's household was threatened, the old madam wouldn't sit idly by. The marquis was probably scared out of his wits. He was probably disgusted. Even if Ning Shu fed him the fever medicine, it didn't reduce his fever. Ning Shu fed him a few more times. The Marquis sweated profusely. Finally, the fever went down. However, the Marquis's face was pale. The old madam felt sorry for him. Ning Shu just grinned. This was the bad thing about ancient times. If it was in modern times, they could have a test tube baby. As long as there was something, it didn't matter even if the Marquis died now. The client and the Marquis's marriage was originally for the sake of reproduction. Men and women should get married when they were of age. The two of them were well matched in social status. They became husband and wife under the matchmaking of the elders. There was indeed no foundation of affection. The old madam reached out and held Ning Shu's hand. She said, "Granddaughter-in-law has suffered." Ning Shu shyly lowered her head and said, "It's my duty to take care of the Marquis. Husband and wife are one." The old madam immediately nodded and praised Ning Shu for being virtuous. Ning Shu grinned and became even more shy. She said, "It's my duty as your granddaughter-in-law." Chapter 2498. What he thought was one thing, but what he said was another. Living in this world, it was better to live a happier life. When the Crown Prince woke up, it had been a few days. He had been feeding him liquid food for the past few days. Now, the Crown Prince was all skin and bones. When the Crown Prince saw Ning Shu coming in with a bowl, he immediately asked, "Are you a human or a demon?" Ning Shu was pleasantly surprised. "Crown Prince, you're awake." "Of course, I'm a human." The Crown Prince heaved a sigh of relief. As he drank the soup, he asked Ning Shu about concubine Yen. Ning Shu told the Crown Prince everything. He said that the demon had been eliminated and could no longer harm the Marquis's residence. He asked the Crown Prince to rest assured. The Crown Prince didn't know what expression to make. He was stupefied. He looked at his wife, and the image of concubine Yan's face appeared in his mind. She stared at him with hidden bitterness. After a while, it turned into a man's face. There were acne marks on his face, and his small eyes were dim. He covered his head with his hands and his face was distorted. The beautiful concubine's face and the man's face swayed back and forth in front of him. "Ah!" The Crown Prince covered his head and squeezed out a hoarse groan from his throat. He was in great pain. Ning Shu pretended to be frightened and quickly called the old madam over. When the old madam came over and saw the Crown Prince in this state, she slapped the Crown Prince so hard that his face was slanted to the side. However, the old madam's expression became more regretful and helpless. Ning Shu thought, "The old madam is mighty. If she hit the Crown Prince, the old madam would definitely tear her apart. She had to be a virtuous wife. Life was like a play. It all depended on one's acting skills." The Crown Prince was stunned by the old madam's slap. He felt so wrong that he almost cried. "Be good and don't cry." The old madam wiped the Crown Prince's face with her rough hands. "Don't be afraid. That demon has been eliminated and will never come back. You have to be strong. The Marquis's residence will depend on you in the future. People have to experience all kinds of things in life." The Crown Prince's pale face turned crimson after being wiped by the old madam. He mumbled, "Grandmother, I just feel very embarrassed. What's there to be ashamed of? Who can guard against a demon? This matter is over. Take good care of your body and—" Originally, the old madam wanted to say that she would have a child with her granddaughter-in-law. However, considering that the heir apparent was still traumatized, she decided to leave the matter of children for later. After a long time, the two of them would have to give birth to a child. If his son was useless, he would raise his grandson. If his grandson was also useless, he would raise his great-grandson. The old madam felt that she was in good health. She should be able to wait until her great-grandchild was born. After comforting her mentally fragile grandson, the old madam went to see her son. Her son's condition was much better than her grandson's. After all, he was someone who had a say in the imperial court. He could still remain calm after going through so much. However, the old madam still had to warn her son not to think about the people in her grandson's room. If he really liked someone, he had to tell his wife and let her make the decision. This made the Marquise, who was listening at the side, feel extremely stifled. Since this matter happened, the Marquise felt that her status in the family had plummeted. Master Ho was so ashamed that his face turned red. He didn't speak and just lay down with his back to his nagging mother. If this matter spread out, how could he face his colleagues? How could he have been bewitched at that time? And that demon seemed to be a man, a very ordinary man. Master Ho wanted to die. He didn't want to go out in the future. Why did he see the real appearance of that demon? If he didn't see it, he would just think that he met a beautiful and seductive demon. Why was he such a man? He would rather sleep with a beautiful demon than admit that he had a relationship with an ugly man. Master Ho's stomach turned a little when he thought about it. For people like them, if they were really into men, they would have plenty of beautiful and charming prostitutes of all ages. Master Ho wanted to curse in his heart and wanted to jump up and shout. After the heir apparent woke up, Ning Shu's life became much more relaxed. When he had nothing to do, he would cultivate and nurse his body. When the client came back, he would force the heir apparent to have a child. The heir apparent was basically useless except for giving birth to a child. Ning Shu also recorded the client's monthly menstrual cycle. When the date of ovulation was calculated, he could force the heir apparent to have sex with him. As for whether the client could be in love with the heir apparent in the future, Ning Shu couldn't guarantee it. He could only promise that she would nurse her body well and then have a child. He was afraid that when the client had a child, all her thoughts would be on the child and she would have little time for the heir apparent. Ning Shu chuckled. He was very much looking forward to the client, a lady from a noble family, forcing the heir apparent to rape. It would probably cause a second psychological trauma to the heir apparent. But so what? Concubine Yan's incident was over. Master Ho's mansion seemed to be peaceful. Everyone seemed to be slowly forgetting about it. But there was no such thing as a secret in the world. In the end, some gossip still spread. Master Ho went to court and was asked by his political opponents if he had been raped. When Master Ho came back, he was so angry that he smashed things. Ning Shu's heart was also in a mess. When he went out to socialize, people said that Master Ho had been raped, but the first thing they thought of was the heir apparent's wife and Master Ho. Ning Shu immediately turned hostile. When he came back, he felt wronged and went to find the old madam. Those people said blah blah blah. The old madam's expression was very ugly. She advised Ning Shu not to take it to heart. The more you care, the more people will say. If you don't care, they will feel bored and stop talking. Ning Shu felt that the old madam's attitude was very good. Obviously, the old madam was very wise in life in front of Ning Shu. But after that, she still made Master Ho kneel in the ancestral hall for the whole night and forbade him to sleep. She also beat up the maids and manservants of the Marquis' estate and sold off a few servants. If this kind of thing was not spread out by the family, how could outsiders know? There were too many eyes and too many tongues. Anyway, during this period of time, Master Ho's mansion was very low-key. They didn't attend any activities. If there was a wedding or a funeral, they directly sent the gifts and didn't attend. The old madam was so angry that she took away the Marquis's right to manage the mansion. How did this daughter-in-law manage the mansion? She made a mess and made a joke of herself. In the future, when people talked about Master Ho's mansion, they would have a secretive expression on their faces. Who could stand that kind of look of ridicule? Anyway, the old madam couldn't stand it. Good things don't go out, but bad things go 1,000 miles. Master Ho's mansion's reputation was going to be ruined. Now, she only hoped that as time passed, everyone would forget. The Marquis's face was numb. She handed over the key and account book. Anyway, she was not liked in this family. Before she gave her son a concubine, she didn't know that concubine Yen was a demon. Chapter 2499. At that time, she saw that concubine Yen was well behaved. Moreover, concubine Yan's figure was big enough to give birth to a son. What did she do wrong? If it wasn't for the fact that her daughter-in-law couldn't give birth to a child, she wouldn't have eaten too much and insisted on stuffing her son with another woman. The Marchioness, who was upset, could only blame her daughter-in-law. What was the use of her daughter-in-law if she couldn't even keep her own husband? She let her husband be infatuated with an evildoer. Thinking that her husband was also infatuated with an evildoer, the Marchioness had nothing to say. In short, the Marchioness was about to be depressed, very depressed. However, her husband didn't say anything for her and just watched her suffer. Now the Marchioness didn't dare to go against her mother. If it wasn't for her, the Marchioness would really be in trouble. At this time, the Marchioness didn't dare to go against the old madam. He had to be especially filial to the old madam. Otherwise, the glory of the Marchioness would be ruined in his hands. The Marchioness didn't know why he was infatuated with her at that time. As he thought about it, that man's appearance appeared in front of him and he felt uncomfortable. The two men in the Marchioness's mansion were depressed and didn't have any energy. This confirmed the rumor that their young energy had been sucked away by the evildoer. The Marchioness. The Shitsi, we are just disgusted. Disgusted, do you understand? As for whether their young energy had been sucked away, neither of them was very clear. Perhaps it was a psychological effect, but they always felt uncomfortable everywhere. They were sick all over. Ning Shu was often called over by Old Madam for a chat. Old Madam also liked to reward Ning Shu with precious jewelry from her collection when she was free. Ning Shu put it away with a smile and wore it the next time he went to see the Old Madam. Other than taking care of the Shitsi every day, the days were quite comfortable. Ning Shu pinched the flesh on his face and felt that he had gained weight. The depression in his heart was gone and his face was ruddy. Now it was the Marchioness's turn to be depressed. Every time the Old Madam saw her, she didn't have the same expression. No one would be in a good mood when they saw a sallow and melancholy face. Every time Ning Shu went to see the old lady, she would smile until the corners of her eyes curved like crescent moons. When the old lady was happy, she would reward her with a bolt of good cloth or precious jewelry. In any case, the days were to be lived by themselves. What was the point of being gloomy? It's not like I don't have anything to eat and wear. His good life had been ruined. The old madam whispered to Ning Shu, asking him to find an opportunity to sleep with the heir and have a child. Ning Shu smiled and said that the heir was not in good health now, and that they would have a healthy child when he got better. Old Madam asked Ning Shu to do as he saw fit. The ancient people had some kind of ovulation method. Ning Shu wrote this ovulation method down and left it to the person who asked for it. In the future, they would not need to have children because of love every day. I hope that the client can give me a good review. This kind of task without a wish is really not easy to do. When the body is well, the mood is not depressed anymore. Just find an opportunity to have a child. Don't be shy and be bold. As long as you have a child, you don't need a man. After this incident, Master Ho slept in the study every day. He didn't even go to his wife's room. Whenever he saw a woman, even a maid, the man's face would unconsciously appear in front of his eyes. He hurriedly shook his head to get rid of the illusion. When he had nightmares at night, he dreamed that a man pressed on top of him. The dark circles under Master Ho's eyes became more and more serious. Every day, the old madam asked the servants to make soup for him to replenish his qi. Master Ho, I only have nightmares. I drink soup until I vomit. Of course, the heir did not escape the fate of drinking soup. Drinking this soup every day made the father and son feel that they might not live long. Ning Shu looked virtuous and let the heir drink bowl after bowl of soup. At the same time, he injected some reiki into the heir's body so that the heir's body was in the best condition to prepare for the birth of a child. 2333. Mission completed. Do you want to leave the mission world? Ning Shu nodded. Should he go to the next mission or go back? There was no world origin in this world. There was no world origin in the Marquis residence. As the heir's wife, it was impossible for her to wander around and look for world origin. Ning Shu was puzzled. Why was it so difficult to find world origin now? After going through so many worlds, why hadn't he found world origin? It was probably because of the sea of laws that these worlds no longer produced additional world origin that they did not need. After all, the number of people in the sea of laws was limited. World origin was actually a kind of law condensed by the world, and it was not extra. When there was not enough law energy to condense the world origin would become less and less. The future was not optimistic. Mei Ziqing had to build the world quickly. Otherwise, it would be more and more difficult to build a world in the future. Ning Shu wondered if he should buy a world carrier and spend some money to buy world origin to build a world. Anyway, he had the world of samsara now. If he built a world and developed living creatures, he could directly connect to the world of samsara. Moreover, the souls in the world of samsara could also be reincarnated into the world. The more he thought about it, the more excited he was. He would go back and ask Tian if there were any higher-level world carriers and spend money to buy world origin. 2333. Are you going back? What about Chun? Let's go back. Other than missions, she had many things to worry about. Ning Shu's figure flashed and he left the body of the client. When he opened his eyes, he was already back in the system space. He poured the soul origin on the table onto the peerless martial art. He felt that just relying on the soul origin was not very useful. He tried to find the fruit of the world tree. Ning Shu absorbed the soul origin and went to the City of Water. He went directly to Tian's auction house. After the restrictions in the Sea of Laws, the flow of people in the City of Water decreased. The city that was bustling before was now deserted. All the shops were deserted. Luckily, he did not have to pay taxes for 100 years. Otherwise, his heart would be numb at the thought of losing taxes. Ning Shu arrived at the auction house. There were many people in the auction house, but compared to before, the number of people was much smaller. Tian frowned and inspected the auction house. When he saw Ning Shu, he cupped his hands. Before Ning Shu could say anything, Tian said first, I know there will be restrictions, but what's the reason for the restrictions? Ning Shu. You're so well informed. Even people who travel extensively don't know about it. How the hell would I know? She actually knows, but I don't want to say it. It's useless even if I do. Is the Sea of Laws going to dry up? Tian changed the topic. What does the city lord want this time? Is there a world tree fruit? No. Then is there a world tree carrier? Seedlings are fine too. He could slowly cultivate it. Releasing a sheep was the same as releasing a herd of sheep. Chapter 2500. Since there were so many to feed, one more didn't matter. Ning Shu felt that if he didn't get some resources or worlds, it would be even harder to build them in the future because the resources would decrease and the problem of the Lost Sea would become more and more serious. The world tree fruit and world tree carrier that you mentioned, we don't have any of these. Tian said. Either he didn't buy anything or he wanted these unique things. Where could he get them? If these things were cabbages, they wouldn't be worth so much. Ning Shu. None of them? With the world tree fruit, one could repair the world, and with the world tree, one could slowly cultivate the world. One leaf was a world. It was simply awesome. Although it couldn't compare to billions of worlds, this kind of carrier could be said to be the best. Tian took a deep breath and said, the world tree won't bear fruit so easily because it's already not easy to support so many leaf worlds. Bearing fruit requires a lot of energy, from blooming to ripening. Do you know how much energy is needed? Ning Shu shook his head. I don't know. As for the world tree carrier, this kind of thing shouldn't be on the market. Even if Tian wanted to earn money from you, I can't. Tian said directly. Don't you have any channels? Ning Shu asked. If there were more world trees, I would keep them for my own use, but there aren't any. Tian said. Who wouldn't want such a good thing? But recently, business was getting harder and harder. Many resources and channels couldn't get goods in. In any case, the situation wasn't very good. Ning Shu sighed. Then tell me, what better world carriers do you have? There are many world carriers, but they are all individual worlds, unlike the world tree, where one leaf is a world. Tian said. Ning Shu did some calculations in her heart. A single world would require the use of 7 world origins. According to the current situation, each world origin would cost more than 100,000 world origins. That would be nearly 1,000,000 years worth of world origins spent on a single world. This wasn't worth it. Moreover, Ning Shu already had the reincarnation world, so he was no longer in a hurry to build a world to protect his life. Ning Shu didn't want this kind of individual world. With this money, it was better to repair his peerless martial arts. There was a thick book of peerless martial arts, and one page might be a world. It was more worth it than having a single world. Ning Shu waved his hand, saying that he didn't need a single world carrier. He said to Si Tian, "World tree world, if there is a world tree's fruit, help me get it. Don't worry about money. If there is a world tree, you can help us take it. I believe in your strength," Ning Shu said with his hands behind his back. Si Tian, the question was where to find such a precious thing? Ning Shu told Si Tian to do his best. She definitely believed in him. Si Tian, "Ti matter? Tiest, I want to keep the money to buy the world tree fruit and the world tree. I don't need anything else." Ning Shu shook her head. "I can spend money, but it has to be something I want." Now, he would not be confused by Si Tian's strong recommendation at all. Si Tian didn't say anything. He just told him to try his best. This kind of thing was really rare. Even if he found it, someone else might take it away. "City Lord, do you know the reason for the restriction?" Si Tian was more concerned about the restriction. It was related to his business, so he couldn't help but be anxious. Ning Shu spread his hands. "I'm not sure. I just received a notice from above that the number of people in the Law Cities is limited. This is something that can't be helped. As for the reason, I'm not very clear. You have many channels, so you can ask others. Anyway, don't ask me about it." The problem with the law can't come out of her mouth. Although he didn't know if this was a secret, the less he said, the better. Moreover, even if he knew, it wouldn't change the situation, so he might as well leave it at that. Si Tian saw that Ning Shu really didn't want to say, so he asked, "City Lord, do you have any soul origin fluid?" Ning Shu, no. He had to use it to feed the world, so he didn't want to sell it. Moreover, he couldn't find any soul origin fluid now. The world didn't have enough, so he wouldn't sell it. Si Tian's expression was a little disappointed. "Many people have asked me. If City Lord has it, Si Tian will definitely help you sell it for a good price." This wasn't a matter of money. If he had to sell it, he might as well sell the soul power, not the soul origin fluid. Out of the auction house and seeing the deserted street, Ning Shu sighed and went to the restaurant to order some food. Sometimes eating was a kind of enjoyment. He didn't refuse all kinds of delicious food. After all, he wasn't afraid of getting fat. In the past, there were many people in the restaurant, but now there were so few people. The business of all the cities began to decline sharply. There were fewer people, but the shops raised the price of goods. Ning Shu ordered some food. He spent nearly 3% more than before. 100 merit points had now become 103 merit points. The small goods didn't matter, but the large items were much more expensive. Inflation began again. This inflation was caused by these shops. Because there were so few people, they tried to rip off anyone they caught. After strengthening the barrier of Water City, Ning Shu went to Wood City. As soon as he walked in, he felt refreshed like a spring breeze. Although there were restrictions, Wood City was still quite lively in comparison. The number of people had basically reached the limit. The law imprint in Ning Shu's hand began to absorb the green light. When he inhaled it, he felt a cool feeling. He went to the city lord's mansion to rest for a while. He lay on the bed and slept. When he woke up, he felt refreshed. After strengthening the barrier of Wood City, he would come to Wood City when he had nothing to do. This feeling was really comfortable. Before, he didn't know the effects of Wood City and didn't know how to come. Now, he felt that Wood City was really a good place. It was like his soul had gone to a spa. Originally, he came to look for the world tree fruit and the world tree, but he didn't find any. Ning Shu decided to wander around the shops of every city. Maybe one of them had it. Ning Shu went to Fire City. She had never been to this city before. There were too many law cities, and it would take some time to go through them one by one. As soon as she entered Fire City, Ning Shu felt as if she had entered a steamer. The space was distorted by the heat. It was especially hot. Ning Shu felt that her soul was about to smoke. In addition, she was the embodiment of the law of water, and her attribute was the opposite. A steady stream of steam rose from her body. She looked like a hot sweet potato that had just come out of the oven, giving off steam. Her soul had turned into water. She was afraid that the heat was evaporating her soul. Chapter 2501. Ning Shu quickly asked the auction house and the shops if they had anything that he needed. They all said that they didn't, so Ning Shu quickly left Fire City. She was really afraid that if she stayed for too long, her soul would be evaporated by the heat. She had to run. Ning Shu looked like a walking humidifier, constantly emitting smoke. It would be better after she left Fire City. Ning Shu fanned herself with her sleeves. She would definitely not go to Fire City in the future. Elements that countered each other were very uncomfortable, especially the two laws in her body. The law of wood and the law of water countered fire. Moreover, the law of wood countered each other one-sidedly. Ning Shu raised her hand and saw that the law of wood was a little dim. She would never come again. In this life, she could comprehend many laws, but she could not comprehend the law of fire. Ning Shu went to other cities. The various laws made Ning Shu gasp in amazement, especially when she entered a city with the law of strength. As soon as she entered, Ning Shu felt as if countless mountains were pressing on her body. She was directly pressed to the ground, unable to get up. This was a little awkward. Did she have to rely on her own strength to lift countless mountains? She lay on the ground, unable to move. The people around her were coming and going. Some of them had hunched backs, walking step by step with difficulty. It was as if they were carrying an invisible mountain on their backs. It was very tiring to look at. Ning Shu directly used her vines to lift up the invisible force pressing on her body. The power of life was not to be underestimated. After all, the power of a bean's germination could lift a stone. Ning Shu asked if there were any world trees and world tree fruits. She was told that there were none. Obviously, these things were very rare. It could even be said that they did not exist. Ning Shu sighed. Previously, there was a world tree in front of her, but she missed it because she did not have the money. Poverty makes me jealous. Jealousy makes me ugly. Ugliness makes me even poorer. After leaving Force City, Ning Shu decided not to look for them. These things were too rare. It was better to let Si Tian find them for her. After all, Si Tian had many channels. Ning Shu didn't want to experience all kinds of strange powers, so he prepared to go to Nine Palace Mountain to mine. Back in the system space, Ning Shu took out some soul stones and asked 2333 to purify them. There wasn't much golden soul fluid, but she still dug out a lot of soul stones. She could absorb some of these soul powers. After all, the current world of samsara was barely self-reliant. Ning Shu wanted to find more golden soul fluid or golden soul stones. He urgently needed soul origin to repair the world. If possible, she still wanted a few more star rocks. She had already used up the 2 star rocks she had obtained earlier. She didn't know how much longer she could keep them. His heart felt stifled, extremely stifled. Whenever he thought of the law of nothingness, Ning Shu's heart would ache. If the law of nothingness was a person, Ning Shu would have already beaten him to death. Ning Shu sat on the sofa and clicked on the attributes. He also took a look at the results of the previous mission. Because he did not have any wishes for the previous mission, he did not know how the completion rate was. Name, Ning Shu. Age, 27. Rank, Super Mission Taker Contribution Card, 297 plus 20, 10 million points for 1 contribution card. Soul Value, 26 plus 2 Health Value, 22 plus 2 Wisdom, 26 plus 4 Luck, 28 plus 4 Charm, 21 plus 2 Spirit, 29 plus 2 Martial Strength, 27 plus 2 Aptitude, 27 plus 2 Faith, 6061494 Merit, 329199 Soul Strength, 104 Authorization Ticket, plus 1 Pure Heart, None Law Comprehended, Water Law Incarnation, Wood Law Incarnation, Constructed World, World of Samsara Items, Calm Aura, Tranquil Pill, Faith Aura, Amulet 4, Upgraded Amulet plus 2 Honorary Titles, Goddess of War, Selfless Ancestor Skills, 5th Ring Shooting Technique, Intermediate Fighting Technique, Intermediate Level Poison Technique, Beginner Level Business Management Knowledge, Beginner Level Code Programming, Beginner Level Lawyer Skill, Sage Ghost Catching Skill, beginner level cooking skill, intermediate level embroidery skill, trash hypnosis aura, mother of the world, queen's blessing, sister model worker, Chen Shi's blessing, leader's aura, grass blessing, best friend of a lifetime, Miao Miao Miao's blessing, healer, Zhu Su blessing, founding woman, Chen Ermiai's blessing, beauty-in-law, Chen Ning's blessing, bane of the blood clan, Jasmine's blessing, transcending race communication, by San Yang's blessing, brave heart, Wang Ying's blessing, bloodthirsty tyrant, Enai Bingyan's blessing, heart of peace and joy completed the wish of the princess consort. Mission completion rate, 100%. Mission reward, 20 contribution cards, 18 attribute points, 80% soul strength, 12,000 faith, including previous world's accumulation, 40% soul strength, 40% soul strength, 40% soul strength. Mission completion rate, 100%. It seemed that the princess consort was satisfied, but he didn't know what she was satisfied with. Did she get rid of concubine Yen, or did she give the marquise the cold shoulder? It was fine as long as she was satisfied. Ning Shu clicked on the video. He was very curious whether the princess consort had forced the prince to have a baby. The Shitzi consort had learned from Ning Shu's method of ovulation. After confirming the date, she gave up on shaving and actually forced herself on the Shitzi consort while he was still sick and had not fully recovered. She was still a little traumatized. At that time, the prince's expression was one of indescribable despair. He told his grandmother that the princess consort had forced him to have sex with her. Was she a demon that wanted to suck his essence? The princess consort hurriedly explained that she had heard the doctor say that it was easy to get pregnant during a certain period of time. That was why she had sex with him. Moreover, the prince didn't resist and thought that he had agreed. The prince was very desperate, but he had to be able to resist. However, what made him even more desperate was that his grandmother, the old madam, didn't stand on his side. She said that it was time for the marquis's mansion to have a legitimate son. The prince hammered the bed and cried. In any case, the princess consort had been tormenting the prince during these few days when it was easy to get pregnant. However, she was unlucky and didn't get pregnant. Then she would torment him during the next cycle. In any case, as long as she got pregnant, everything would be fine. The prince felt like he was a puppet for a pregnant child. Other than those few days, the princess consort wouldn't have sex with him at any other time. Whenever they did, she would torment him. He always felt a little cold. She was completely treating him as a tool for reproduction. His mission was to make the princess consort pregnant. The prince felt very wronged. The person he had been infatuated with was a demon. Now, he was being treated like this by his wife. Could she not be so direct? However, no one stood on his side. Wasn't it just that he had fallen in love with a demon in beauty's skin? In life, who didn't make mistakes? Every time he complained to his grandmother about his grievances, the old madam would say that there were 3 ways to be unfilial. Having no descendants was the worst. She wanted to have a legitimate son with her wife. The prince, who had considered his feelings? Once he went on strike, they would use the marquis's mansion's responsibility to pressure him. It was as if he was a disloyal, unfilial, and heartless person. Who could understand the grievances in his heart? Chapter 2502. After 2 months of torment, the princess consort was finally pregnant. Before the prince could heave a sigh of relief, he felt that his bitter days were finally over. But he realized that no one cared about him. Everyone was circling around the pregnant princess consort, completely abandoning him. The prince was speechless. The prince's life was not good, and so was his father's. The marquise was probably too angry, so she directly sold off all the concubines in the backyard. And they were all the marquise's women. The marquise felt uncomfortable, but he did not say anything. He had not been to the backyard for a long time, so it was good that these women were gone. Now, the marquise felt that everyone was a demon, an ugly demon who leaned on the concubines. He was paranoid. Although these concubines cried and begged the marquise was not soft-hearted at all. He did not care at all. And the marquise was already very indifferent to this. Although it was a demon, it was indeed good. He did not feel anything for the others. Secondly, he was afraid that something would happen again. He was like a bird startled by the twang of a bow. The Marquis also did not trust his wife very much. After 10 months of pregnancy, the princess consort successfully gave birth to a son. Now, the Marquis finally had a legitimate son. With a child, the princess consort's status in the Marquis rose, and she was more confident. The Marquis also had no reason to stuff other concubines into her son's room. She also would not say that her daughter-in-law could not give birth to a child every day. In short, everything was enough with a son, and all troubles would be solved. Ning Shu turned off the video. Since she was living well, it was good. After all, she had sacrificed so much soul power in exchange for today's situation. She would be safe and happy for a lifetime, but what the next life would be like was still unknown. Generally speaking, if the person entrusted with this kind of counterattack had less soul power, they would not be able to reincarnate as a human favored by the heavenly Tao. Ning Shu prepared to go to the 9-Palace Mountain. He first went to the first level of mining, as some of the mines were not finished yet. Ning Shu opened the black hole, walked into it, and appeared in the world of Samsara. Ning Shu first checked the world of Samsara, and found that it had grown leaves again. Another space was born. Ning Shu was very calm in his heart. In any case, he had the rebirth pool to nurture it, which could reduce some of the burden. He still had to let the souls of the second level enter the world of reincarnation. Ning Shu went in through the hole. The Thunder Kirin swung its tail and looked at Ning Shu with lightning all over its body. Ning Shu, what do you mean? Not letting me in? Ning Shu and the Thunder Kirin confronted each other. In the end, the Thunder Kirin laid down with its chin on the ground and closed its eyes to rest. Of course, it did not exclude the fact that it did not want to see Ning Shu. Ning Shu went around the Thunder Qilin, afraid that the lightning on his body would strike her. Ning Shu went to the rebirth pool to take a look. He had to constantly check on the rebirth pool to prevent any accidents from happening. When they reached the rebirth pool, Ning Shu saw a skeleton squatting beside the rebirth pool from afar. At first glance, Ning Shu thought that it was the skeleton of an abyssal prefect that had appeared in this world. However, upon closer inspection, the skeleton was completely devoid of flesh. It was impossible to tell who it belonged to. Why was this skeleton squatting beside the rebirth pool? There were many skeletons like this in the world of reincarnation. Their bodies had all decayed and turned into bones, which then slowly turned into sand. Unlike this skeleton, which was still well connected. Great Aunt. Bonehead's lower jaw opened and closed as it called out to Ning Shu. Ning Shu. You are Li Si? This guy had actually turned into a skeleton. Even when his body had decayed, he did not abandon his body. Could it be that he had become a skeleton with life? I am Li Si. Li Si's skeleton stood up. There was no flesh on his body. Why you here? Do you want to jump in? He had never heard of the rebirth pool being able to purify bones. Sigh. Li Si let out a long sigh. He could not imagine a skeleton with a face full of worry. Young Master has jumped in. Li Si said, I will wait for young Master to return. Ning Shu acknowledged. Pai Lupi had no other choice but to jump into the rebirth pool. After all, there was so much poison in his soul. Only the rebirth pool could purify it. There was no other way to get rid of it. Previously, Pai Lupi was still so indignant. Ning Shu thought that he would bear with it. He did not expect him to jump. I will wait for young Master to reincarnate. I will definitely wait for young Master to return to this world. Li Si said, actually, this was also a solution. Jumping into the rebirth pool once would get rid of the poison in his soul. Furthermore, the world of reincarnation was now connected to the 9-Palace Mountain. One could cultivate in the 9-Palace Mountain. If he entered the world of reincarnation again, there would not be so much poison in his soul. He would be able to cultivate in the world of reincarnation again. However, the prerequisite was that he could ensure that his soul could enter the world of reincarnation. For example, in the second level of the world of reincarnation, the dead souls would be refined into soul fluid. They would never be able to appear in the world of reincarnation again. Ning Shu looked at Li Si. He felt as though he was in the netherworld. Alright, you guard it. Also, if anything happens to the pool, tell me immediately. Ning Shu silently blessed Li Si. He hoped that Pai Lupi would be able to wait for him. Pai Lupi's soul would not die prematurely. As for how long Li Si would have to wait, he did not know. Great Aunt, don't worry. I will definitely guard the pool for you and wait for young master to return. Li Si's lower jaw opened and closed. His voice was very hoarse. Ning Shu reached out and patted his bones. Good luck. He looked so much like someone waiting for someone who could not return on the bridge of helplessness. Ning Shu touched his chin and looked at Li Si. Did she catch some people and bring them to the world of reincarnation to form such bones? Thinking of the army of His Excellency's bones, Ning Shu's heart was restless. However, it was also possible that Li Si's birth was an accident. Moreover, when the body could not bear the movement of life, the soul would uncontrollably pop out of the body. This was not something that one could control. Ning Shu asked, "How did you become a skeleton?" Li Si used his bony hand to scratch his bare skull and said shyly, "I don't know either. My body was rotting and I didn't want to leave my body. Since it was rotting and leaking pus, I removed the rotten flesh. However, my soul didn't leave my body." Ning Shu didn't know what the crux of the matter was, so she decided to find an opportunity to ask His Excellency about how his bones came to be. The bones in front of him were grown wild and could not be mass-produced. She did not understand Li Si's loyalty to Pai Lupi. He had to stay here and wait for someone without a deadline. It was torturous enough. However, she had more important things to do now. She had to mine and then release the soul in the second world. "How can I contact you?" Li Si asked. Chapter 2503. Li Si thought to himself, "While waiting for young master, I can help Aunt to look after this place. It's killing two birds with one stone. But I don't know how to contact Aunt." Ning Shu thought for a while and set up a miniature array around them. He said, "If there's anything, just walk into this array. I'll be able to sense it. And that Kirin over there. It suppresses this place. Don't mess with it." Ning Shu reminded him. Li Si nodded. Ning Shu looked at the clear reflection of the blue sky and white clouds in the reincarnation pool. Fragrant flowers bloomed around it. There was no problem. Ning Shu went to mine first. Li Si sat beside the reincarnation pool. He held his chin in his hand and didn't move. After digging a small mine, Ning Shu left the world of samsara. When he came out of the cave, he said to the Thunder Kirin, "That bone belongs to me. Don't chop it." The Thunder Kirin didn't even open its eyes. It snorted in response to Ning Shu's words. Ning Shu was speechless. Why is this guy throwing a tantrum? Ning Shu went out of the Nine Palace Mountain. He pressed his hand on the stone wall and entered the second layer of the world. He entered the city invisibly. Of course, when he entered, the array kept ringing. Walking into the city, Ning Shu felt that the atmosphere in the city was not right. There were many guards on the road. They were searching from house to house. Were they looking for her? Ning Shu added another layer of enchantment to his body to isolate his presence. Even the Li family's patriarch could find her in the first layer of the world. It was hard to guarantee that the masters in this world couldn't find her. When he arrived at the slum, Ning Shu pushed open the door that was about to collapse. He saw the dirty Yi Lin cultivating. An earthworm was lying on the ground weakly. When it saw Ning Shu come in, it immediately raised its head. "You're here. Give me soul stones. I'm starving. Hurry up, hurry up." The earthworm said hurriedly. Ning Shu threw 2 soul stones of average quality to it. The earthworm didn't mind and began to chew on them. Sure enough, they would be fine after being starved for a while. If they were disobedient, they would be fine after being beaten. Yi Lin opened his eyes and immediately stood up. He bowed to Ning Shu. "What's going on outside?" With so many guards searching, something must have happened. Yi Lin rolled his eyes. His face was dark, and the whites of his eyes were especially white and conspicuous. He said, "Someone was killed in the city. It's probably someone special. Normally, if a person died, they would just die. Why would there be such a big search?" Most people were people with high status. Yes, I bit a soul to death, the earthworm said as it chewed on the soul stone. Ning Shu stared blankly for a moment, then suddenly chuckled, "You must have lost your mind from hunger. There are so many experts here, and you actually have the guts to bite someone. She's with this little brat." Yi Lin's eyes were still rolling, but he lowered his head. The earthworm said, "I went out with him to beg for food. In the end, we met a guard general. That brat said that the guard general killed his family and wanted to take revenge. He pestered that person to beg for food. When he wasn't paying attention, I bit him. He's probably dead by now." Ning Shu glanced at Yi Lin. "Now that you think you have some power, you want to stir up trouble. You can't hold it in for a while. Now that the entire city is searching, do you think they won't find your forehead? Wouldn't it be better to wait until you have the power to stir up trouble?" Right now, it was purely beating the grass to startle the snake. If they found out that he was the culprit and he didn't have the power to deal with it, only death would await him. Pulling back his fist was to strike with more power. Now, it looked refreshing, but how would he deal with the aftermath? Yi Lin knelt down, tears streaming down his face. His tears washed away the black dirt on his face, forming two ravines. Although he was crying, Ning Shu didn't sympathize with him at all. It was really hard to sympathize with him like this. "Master, your disciple really can't hold it in. I really can't. When I think of my family's blood splashing on his bloodthirsty face, wah wah wah." Yi Lin cried heart-wrenchingly. The earthworm said, "Don't blame him for pinching. I was the one who bit him." "Oh, I haven't seen you for a while and your relationship has become so good." Ning Shu looked at the earthworm. "Do you want to starve for a while longer?" The earthworm immediately stopped talking. Yi Lin wiped his tears. "Although it was dangerous, I don't regret it at all. All right, it's fine to kill them." Ning Shu waved his hand. "In the future, cultivate well and don't go out. Now that the outside is searching, who knows when they will come here to search." "Thank you, Master." Yi Lin stood up. Ning Shu asked, "How's your cultivation going?" "According to Master's progress, your disciple has already formed Qijin." Yi Lin said obediently. Ning Shu was indifferent to Yi Lin's obedience. How could a child at the bottom of society be so obedient? "Not bad. How long have I been away?" Ning Shu didn't know if the flow of time on the second level of Nine Palace Mountain was similar to the one on the second level. "Not too long. About 3 months." Yi Lin looked at Ning Shu with a curious gaze. "Master, are you not in the city?" Ning Shu, "Guess, Yi Lin. You have to leave me more soul stones this time. I'm starving to death." The earthworm said. Ning Shu nodded. "Sure, but you have to tell me how many more soul stone mines there are in the lower world." The earthworm. "No more." "Then you can starve." Ning Shu said directly. "I want to change my diet." The earthworm said hatefully. "We'll talk about it after you change your diet." Yi Lin saw that his master suddenly stopped talking and felt a little anxious. He asked, "Master, which family are you from?" "Which family do you think I'm from?" Yi Lin shook his head. "I don't think Master is from a family in the city." "Indeed I'm not. You don't have to guess my identity. I don't live in the city and I don't have an identity card. So I'm an unknown person. Don't tell anyone, understand?" Ning Shu said directly. Yi Lin immediately said, "Master, don't worry. I won't tell anyone. I won't let those people capture you." Ning Shu nodded. Although he wasn't afraid of being captured, it was better to have less trouble. Moreover, it could tell a person's character. She and Yi Lin were strangers to each other. They hadn't experienced anything together. They were just strangers and couldn't tell anything. Ning Shu threw another soul stone to the earthworm and planned to leave. He checked the energy in Yi Lin's dantian. The energy hadn't taken form yet. He didn't know what kind of energy it would take. "You can't fly yet. Cultivate well." Ning Shu said, "When you take form, your strength should improve." "Master, when my strength increases, I want to become a guard general." "Why?" Becoming a guard general meant that he had to constantly collect souls and sometimes even kill people. Chapter 2504. Ning Shu looked coldly at Yi Lin. Now, Yi Lin was about to become the person she hated the most. Ning Shu had only given Yi Lin a peerless martial art because he wanted Yi Lin to stir up trouble. After all, he was a person chosen by the heavenly Tao. Ning Shu, on the other hand, was aiming for the soul fluid stored in the city. In such a large city, each clan would surely have a stockpile. Ning Shu felt that this was the only thing he could look forward to in the second level. In the end, Yi Lin wanted to become a guard general. He had to collect souls, kill spiritual beasts, and even kill people to make up for his achievements. Was this the only way to enter the upper echelons of the city? If their paths were different, then there was no need for her to waste time with Yi Lin. Why do you want to become a guard general? Ning Shu's expression was indifferent. If they could not achieve a win-win situation, then why waste time? If he cultivated a peerless martial art, he could become very powerful. There was no need to become a guard general. In the future, she would have a conflict with a guard general. If Yi Lin became a guard general, then they would be enemies in the future. Yi Lin was a beggar and lived at the bottom of society. He was best at reading people's faces. He could keenly sense the coldness emanating from the other's body, and it carried a sense of rejection. Yi Lin was somewhat terrified. He immediately said, "Master, your disciple wants to become a guard general. I want to use this method to enter the inner circle." Ning Hu lowered his head and straightened his sleeves. He did not say anything. The air became heavy. The earthworm gnawed on the soul stone. Seeing this, it also stopped eating. The atmosphere became even more stagnant. Yi Lin and Ning Shu did not say anything. The atmosphere was strange. Ning Shu was very calm. Yi Lin was still young and did not have enough self-cultivation. In the face of this situation, he was very embarrassed and ill at ease. The earthworm said, "Don't be so serious. This is a very serious matter. His decision will affect whether or not you can play happily with him in the future." Ning Shu said directly. He did not want to waste any more time. "You can go play with your eggs." She still needed to rely on her own strength to seize the soul fluid. Originally, she thought that it would be of help. "Master, did I say something wrong?" Yi Lin asked. Ning Shu said indifferently, "You seem to have misunderstood and underestimated the cultivation secret manual I passed on to you, making you think that only by becoming a guard general can you enter the ranks of experts in the city." Ning Shu was not a kind person to begin with. There was no need for him to waste time on irrelevant people. Once he was sure that this person would be a hindrance to him in the future, Ning Shu decided to nip him in the bud. Yi Lin could feel the coldness from the other party, as well as killing intent. He felt as if he had entered a life and death situation. What to do, what to do? If his answer didn't satisfy her, would she kill him? "Master, I was wrong." Yi Lin immediately cowered. Saving his own life was more important. "Ning Shu, you must be upset." "Very happy," Yi Lin hurriedly said. Ning Shu's lips curled. In any case, she did not intend to have a deep master-disciple relationship with Yi Lin. "Tell me, why do you have to become a guard general?" "Master, I want to become a guard general because I want to enter the inner circle. If you become a guard general, you will be like the other guard generals. You will become someone who kills other people's wives, parents, and children. Are you sure you want to do this?" Ning Shu said directly. It took a lot of courage to become the person one hated the most. All loathing and hatred was because one was weak. When one became strong and became such a person, their previous loathing and hatred would seem laughable. Yi Lin was somewhat hesitant. In the end, he shook his head and said, "Then I won't become a guard general." After wasting a lot of time, Ning Shu did not intend to waste any more time on Yi Lin. It was better to go and collect the soul fluid herself. Ning Shu left the slums and appeared on a wide street in a flash. There were all kinds of small stalls on both sides of the street. There were food, gadgets, jewelry, rouge, and so on. There were many guards on the street searching. When they saw Ning Shu, they immediately asked for an identity card. Ning Shu was like a piece of hog meat. "I don't have an identity card." "If you don't have an identity card, what are you so proud of?" A guard general directly took out a spirit tool and put Ning Shu into it. It was time to start the sauna again. Ning Shu entered the spirit tool and found that there were still many souls inside. He found a place to sit down. This time, he did not intend to blow up the spirit tool. He wanted to see where these souls ended up. Most of the souls in the spirit tool had a numb expression and did not speak. Some of the souls of spirit beasts were violently banging their heads against the wall. This caused the entire space to tremble. It was useless. It could not be broken. Every guard general had one of these spirit tools. The status of a guard general was much higher than that of the patrolling guards. The guard general then divided the ranks according to the number of souls he collected. The space began to heat up. Flames appeared on the walls. Ning Shu supported his chin with one hand and opened the black hole with the other. He said to these souls, "Go in." These souls looked at each other. No one dared to go in. "I don't want to be roasted by the fire." Ning Shu said. Well, because they did not experience the pain of being roasted by the fire, they did not believe him. The temperature of the space was getting higher and higher. The steam distorted the air. These flames rushed to the souls and roasted them. The souls in the space began to feel pain. They had no choice but to rush into the black hole. When everyone had left, Ning Shu closed the black hole. These souls entered the world of reincarnation and jumped into the reincarnation pool. They could add nutrients to the world of reincarnation. However, he did not get any merit for doing these things. Ning Shu fanned himself with his sleeve. These flames were far from the flames in the city of fire. At most, they were a little hot. The guard general arrived at the largest palace in the city. There were guards at the entrance of the palace. The guards at the entrance greeted the guard general. The guard general entered the palace. There was a huge pool in the palace. This pool was filled with gray liquid. There was a scale beside the pool. First, one had to pour the soul fluid into the scale to measure how much soul fluid there was. Then, the soul fluid would flow into the pool. The guard general took out the spiritual weapon and prepared to pour the soul fluid into the measuring device. In the end, he poured it a few times but still could not pour it out. What's going on? The guard general was puzzled. Why was there not a single drop of soul fluid? Hey, are you here to be funny? Hurry up, we are still waiting. The guard general behind the line could not help but sneered. The guard general and the guard general had a competitive relationship. It was normal for their relationship to not be good. Seeing that the guard general in front did not have a single drop of soul fluid, he still pretended to measure the scale. He was here to be funny. The guard general was very puzzled. He stepped aside and checked his spiritual weapon. There was not a single soul inside. He had clearly collected so many souls. Ning Shu entered the spiritual weapon through the exit. He hid beside the pool and strengthened several layers of enchantments. /BK Chapter 2505. Ning Shu lay beside the pool. When he saw the pool full of gray liquid, his saliva immediately flowed out. Damn, so much soul fluid. He made a fortune. In the future, when he had nothing to do, he would stay by the pool. There was a lot of soul fluid and it was endless. It felt great. Some of the guards poured out the soul fluid of the spirit weapons and slowly mixed it into the pool. So much soul fluid, how many souls would it take? One person didn't have that many souls. When the guards left, Ning Shu asked 2333 to prepare a large container for him to take away all the soul fluid. 2333 had prepared a large space in the ring. Ning Shu put her hand into the pool, but the enchantment in the pool bounced her hand back. And his soul was burning. There was indeed a barrier. No wonder those guards worked so hard to collect souls. They didn't expect to get the soul fluid directly from the pool. It turned out that there was a barrier. When there was enough soul fluid in the pool, it would be collected for a second processing. Ning Shu stretched out his finger and touched the barrier. This barrier was really powerful. How could he break it? If he tried to break it, it would attract people. Ning Shu touched his chin. Looking at such a large pool, it was almost full of soul fluid, but he couldn't get it. His heart was stifled. Give me the ring. Ning Shu said to 2333. No matter how powerful the barrier was, it would disappear under the light of time. Since time was so powerful, could it deal with the law of nothingness? He didn't believe that the law of nothingness could escape the ravages of time. Ning Shu was speechless. He was speechless. Why did he want to mess with the law of nothingness again? He didn't have any star stones now. What if something went wrong? The ring appeared in Ning Shu's hand. Ning Shu released a few light beams of time to break the barrier. It seemed that this barrier was quite powerful. It took a few light beams to break it. Without the barrier, Ning Shu quickly collected the pool of soul fluid. It was clean, not a drop was left. After arriving at the second level, Ning Shu was finally able to reap some benefits. Feeling satisfied, he planned to go to the other halls to see if there were any more ponds. There should be more than one pond. The invisible Ning Shu ran next door and saw that there was also a pool inside, but there was no soul fluid in it. It seemed like he was a step too late and couldn't make it in time. What a pity! The soul fluid is gone. Someone came in. A guard general entered the hall and saw that there wasn't a single drop of soul fluid left in the pool. The barrier covering the pool had also been broken. Suddenly, the entire palace became restless as countless experts moved out. Ning Shu opened the black hole and ran. There was nothing left for him to take. Why didn't he leave and stay here to fight? After returning to the system space, Ning Shu immediately took the collected soul fluid to the main system for purification. This kind of soul fluid was a complete soul. It contained both soul power and soul origin. Such a large pool of soul fluid without a single soul stone mine. It was simply amazing. Ning Shu pinched the ring in his hand. The ruby ring was crimson and beautiful. Ning Shu looked at the ring and stretched out his hand. The peerless martial art book flew into his hand. He didn't know what kind of violent reaction the time ray would have when it hit the law of nothingness. Would it be like the black silk? What if the world couldn't hold on? Ning Shu grabbed the world origin and went to the consultation room in the city of water. Walking into the consultation room, Ning Shu waited for the silver-haired man to come out. The silver-haired man came out of the inner room and saw the book Ning Shu placed on the table. You're going to pay this time. No, I have something to do. You watch from the side. If anything happens, you pay immediately. Someone next to him felt more at ease. The silver-haired man was speechless. Ning Shu said, "Don't worry, I'll pay." Although he was poor, he still had the money. The silver-haired man sat down and said with a calm expression, "You're quite the troublemaker. If the world exploded, you wouldn't be so troublesome. If the world exploded, there's nothing left. What's the point of me doing it?" Since there was some hope, he had to give it a try. Since the law of destruction couldn't deal with this guy, he could use time. Time could destroy this guy. Didn't you see that the sea of laws gave birth to billions of planes? After a long time, all kinds of problems also occurred. The law of nothingness was the same. Yes, the theory should be the same. You watch from the outside. I'm going in. Ning Shu went into the peerless martial art book. Ning Shu looked at the calm law of nothingness and gulped. He was a little nervous. The commotion this time had left Ning Shu with a psychological shadow. The hand holding the ring was trembling. Ning Shu pursed his lips and shot out a few rays of light from the ring. The time ray was like a drop of water in the ocean. There was no reaction. Ning Shu shot out a few more, but there was still no reaction. The reaction wasn't good. Ning Shu was both happy and disappointed. What kind of thing could deal with the law of nothingness? Ning Shu squatted by the lake and looked at the law of nothingness. After confirming that there wouldn't be any reaction, he was relieved. Previously, the will of the law of destruction was a relatively violent thing. When the strong collided, it would definitely cause a huge reaction. On the other hand, time was a kind of gentle yet cruel attack. Everything would unknowingly become unbearable to look at, or even disappear. It seemed that there wouldn't be any violent reaction. The law of time stone couldn't deal with it. Ning Shu really wanted to throw the ring in, but he still needed the ring to break the barrier. Smashing the barrier was tiring and would easily attract attention. Ning Shu wasn't willing to give up. He shot out a few more rays of light. Since he couldn't deal with the law of nothingness, he would strengthen the faith of the peerless martial art book. Ning Shu used the emerald green water droplets to create a green rain. These emerald green water droplets merged into the ground. Ning Shu took the ring out of the Peerless Martial Art book and said to the silver-haired man, "Okay, how much?" 10,000 merit points. In such a short time, he didn't ask any questions. 10,000 merit points, this money was really easy to earn. Ning Shu felt that the mark between his thumb and index finger was a little hot. It should be that the law of wood was lacking energy. Ning Shu directly transferred 10,000 merit points and carried the Peerless Martial Art book to the City of Wood to absorb energy. Ning Shu looked at the area between his thumb and index finger. He focused his eyes and found that the drop of dew on the leaf was gone. It also didn't roll on the leaf. Where was the water droplet? Did it fall off? Ning Shu turned his hand over and looked at his hand. There was no water droplet. Where was that drop of water that was as small as a small diamond? He was a little disappointed. Why was it gone? The mark of the law of wood absorbed these green dots of light. Gradually, the crystal clear water droplet appeared on the leaf again and rolled around on the leaf. Could it be that the water droplet disappeared because there wasn't enough energy? Maybe it was a drop of energy. Ning Shu shook his hand. The water droplet on the leaf rolled around. It wouldn't roll down the leaf and stop rolling at the edge of the leaf. /BK. Chapter 2506. Ning Shu found that the Peerless Martial Art could also absorb these green light spots in the City of Wood. Although it was very slow, it was still absorbing. In that case, these powers were also good for the world. Ning Shu simply put the Peerless Martial Art in the City Lord's mansion and strengthened the enchantment of the City Lord's mansion to prevent others from breaking in and snatching her Peerless Martial Art. However, the Peerless Martial Art was her thing. When the two were connected, she could feel any difference in the Peerless Martial Art. With a thought, the Peerless Martial Art could return to her hands again. The law of wood had a restorative effect. It would be good if it could be restored a little. Having obtained a pool of soul fluid, Ning Shu's mood soared. There were still many pools of soul fluid waiting for her. This was just one city. There were so many cities. She took the things and destroyed these systems. Otherwise, her soul would never be able to go to the world of samsara. Back in the system space, Ning Shu heard the chat system beeping. Who was looking for her? Ning Shu sat on the sofa and clicked on the chat system. She saw that it was a message from the main system, asking about the source of the soul fluid. Ning Shu frowned. What did the main system mean? Ning Shu replied, "I have my source channel." Main system, what channel? Ning Shu, it's not convenient to say. The main system didn't ask any more questions. Ning Shu thought it was fine, but another ding sounded. Ning Shu took a look. It was a message from the judge. Grand Uncle, I'm waiting for you in the City of Wood. We need to talk. Come quickly. Ning Shu's first thought was to recall if she had done anything illegal during this period of time. After going through what she had done during this period of time and making sure that she hadn't done anything out of line, Ning Shu calmed down. She wanted to ask if she was alone, but the other party's contact directly disappeared from the chat system. Ning Shu, she had no choice but to go to the City of Water. She had a feeling that she was alone this time. If she wanted to gather all the nomological embodiments, the man in the Cheongsam should be the one to inform everyone, and not her alone. Ning Shu entered the restaurant. There were very few people in the restaurant. Both the Grand Elder and Fragrant Wind Man were here. Fragrant Wind ordered a lot of food in front of him, and he ate slowly. In addition, there were 4 people in military uniforms with guns hanging on their chests. Oh, with such a big fuss, what did he want to talk to her about? Ning Shu felt a little weak in his heart. But when he thought of his own world of reincarnation, he felt more confident and didn't feel that these people were scary. Once I'm done with the law of nothingness, I'll be a person with a world. As he approached, Ning Shu smelled the pungent smell of Fragrant Wind Man. It was too similar. There was so much wax on his hair that even a fly would slip and sprain its foot if it landed on his face. The Grand Elder took out a bottle. This is the soul fluid you purified by the main system. Ning Shu looked at the gray liquid in the bottle and nodded. Yes. They started to talk business. Fragrant Wind Man stopped eating and narrowed his eyes at Ning Shu. You'd better tell us the source of your soul fluid. Otherwise, we'll suspect that you're enslaving souls and turning them into soul fluid, the Grand Elder said lightly. Fragrant Wind Man took a sip of tea and said, We suspect that you're massacring living beings. Is it during the mission? So that's what happened. If I'm massacring living beings during the mission, you should already know. I didn't enslave souls or kill people. When I'm doing the mission, my system is the clearest. Also, the source of my soul fluid isn't from the plane. Ning Shu pulled a chair and sat down. So you're saying that you've massacred living beings in your world? The Grand Elder asked. Ning Shu was speechless. When did she say that? Also, how could there be living beings in her world? The world was about to shatter. How could there be living beings? Don't you know what my world is like? Ning Shu shook his head. No. Then where did your soul fluid come from? If the source isn't clear, the main system will no longer accept your soul fluid and stop purifying it. The Grand Elder looked at Ning Shu coldly. Is it so difficult to say the source? Is the source so shameful? Ning Shu spread his hands and said, There's nothing shameful about it. The source of my soul fluid is very clean. Soul fluid is the same as soul stones. I obtained it from other worlds. What world? The Grand Elder asked. Ning Shu was speechless. Fragrant Wind Man touched his hair and said directly, Actually, no one is looking at your little soul fluid. What we want to determine is whether you're massacring living beings. Ning Shu twitched the corner of his mouth. You can't look at the soul fluid. You don't need soul power in the army. It seemed that if he didn't make it clear today, he wouldn't be able to leave. The military and the judges were dispatched for such a small matter. Ning Shu asked, Can't we treat the living beings of our world as we wish? Being kept in captivity in the world wasn't a private property for the master of the world. Ning Shu didn't want to do anything, but it was hard to say if some people would enslave the living beings of their world. Fragrant Wind Man said, Of course you can, but you have to bear the backlash of the world. The world has formed an inherent program. When this program is destroyed, the world will have problems, and this inherent program will destroy external attackers. It's actually the heavenly Tao. Aren't we the heavenly Tao of our own world? Ning Shu asked. One is the name, and the other is the specific operation. It's not the same, Fragrant Wind Man explained. So there were restrictions. Tell us the source of the soul fluid. The Grand Elder frowned. Don't talk nonsense. Ning Shu. How do you want me to prove it? Was she going to be court-martialed? Maybe she would be erased. Tell us the specific source of the soul fluid. If possible, let us see how the soul fluid is produced and make sure you're not massacring living beings. Ning Shu, okay. If she didn't prove it, the main system wouldn't purify the soul fluid. She had to master how to evolve the soul, or she would always be controlled by others. If she fell behind, she would be beaten. If she didn't have the skills, she could only be controlled by others. The organization didn't dare to make this purification method public. Otherwise, the task takers would really start killing people and purify their own soul power. It would be much easier to do the task. Ning Shu opened the black hole and said, I accidentally found a world. There are living beings in the world. Fragrant Wind Man said to the 4 souls in military uniforms, Wait here. Yes. The Grand Elder glanced at Ning Shu and took the lead to enter the black hole. Fragrant Wind Man followed, and Ning Shu went in last. The black hole slowly closed. This is the world of samsara? Fragrant Wind Man looked at the dark world. Ning Shu nodded. Yes, but it's still in the budding stage. /BK. Chapter 2507. The 3 of them stepped on the black sand, and Senior Uncle looked around the world of reincarnation. No wonder His Excellency spoke up for a small task taker. Why would that guy, who didn't get up early without benefits, be entangled with a small task taker? So your world of reincarnation can connect to the outside world? Fragrant Wind asked. Ning Shu shook his head. No. Don't worry, Fragrant Wind said. Ning Shu said, Why should I worry? I'm not in a hurry at all. The world of reincarnation hadn't grown for a long time, so she could still afford to wait. Moreover, the world of reincarnation was still splitting, so she wouldn't connect to the outside world at this time. Ning Shu pointed to the 9 Palace mountain not far away. My soul fluid comes from the inside world. Because there is no world of reincarnation, my soul has no place to go. One layer formed soul stones, and the other layer's soul was forcibly refined into soul fluid. Let's go in and take a look, Senior Uncle said. Drill a hole in the first layer. Ning Shu smiled and pointed at a hole. This layer is where this world and the world of samsara form a world of samsara. Soul stones come from this world? Fragrant Wind asked. There's no need to check this layer. It takes a long time for mineral deposits to form, and it's naturally formed. What we want to check is soul fluid, Senior Uncle said. Then let's go to the second layer, Ning Shu said with a shrug. The 3 of them entered the second layer and found a huge city. They floated in the clouds and looked down at the city. The people coming and going in the city were as small as ants. Senior Uncle and Fragrant Wind scanned the city and finally withdrew their spiritual power. I didn't lie, right? My soul fluid source is absolutely clean. Do you think you're cute? Senior Uncle glanced at her. Of course I'm cute. I have a clear conscience, Ning Shu said. Maybe you're clean now, but maybe you'll control the city to refine souls in the future, Senior Uncle said. Ning Shu touched his chin. This seems to be a good idea. There'll be an endless supply of soul fluid in the future. Senior Uncle, haha, do you have to worry about a world that is no longer monitored by the organization? Ning Shu asked. I won't control the city. I'll just send these souls to the world of reincarnation below. It's better to provide for the world of reincarnation. I'm a very kind person. Ning Shu said. Grand Uncle didn't say a word, and Fragrant Wind rolled his eyes. Is this world like this? Fragrant Wind asked. That's right. Locking everyone up in a big city. Ning Shu said as he moved further away from Fragrant Wind. He was wearing a flirtatious flowery shirt, and his hair was waxed. He looked greasy and was a little unbearable. He was clearly an iron-blooded soldier, yet he had to make himself look like this. Did he really have any prestige in front of his subordinates? All right, you can leave, the Grand Elder said calmly. He turned around and left the world. Ning Shu followed him out. Finally, they came out of the black hole one by one. Fragrant Wind Man sat down and took a sip of tea. For now, you've passed the inspection. Ning Shu also sat down and poured himself a cup of tea. Then, there's nothing else, right? Indeed, there's nothing else. However, you have to accept the organization's inspection and monitoring at all times, the Grand Elder said. As far as I know, 9 Palace Mountain is no longer under the organization's surveillance. Do you have to be responsible for 9 Palace Mountain too? Ning Shu said with a smile. Motherfucker. The Grand Elder glanced at Ning Shu. Motherfucker. Ning Shu retorted. Fragrant Wind Man curled his lips and said to Ning Shu, as a member of the organization, it's better not to play with souls. It's better to play with living beings. All right. Ning Shu didn't want to play with anyone. Let's go. You pay the bill, Fragrant Wind Man said. Ning Shu took the lead and left the restaurant. He turned around and said, You ordered it yourself and ate it yourself. You don't want to pay the bill. Have some shame. Investigating me and wanting to eat my food? Dream on. Fragrant Wind Man rolled his eyes, paid the bill, and left with the 4 people. The Grand Elder stared at Ning Shu condescendingly. Remember your responsibility. Ning Shu snorted. I will definitely remember my responsibility. The Grand Elder turned around and left. Ning Shu curled his lips and returned to the system space. He let out a long sigh. Fortunately, nothing happened. Previously, it was fine to give the main system soul stones, but when he gave her soul fluid, he suspected that she had killed living beings. Ning Shu asked 2333, Do you have any way to purify soul power? 2333, No. Ning Shu, it seemed that it was impossible to know the purification method. In the future, if he wanted to purify soul fluid, he would have to be monitored. It felt uncomfortable to be under the eyes of others. Before, he felt that the organization was very free. Now that they were monitoring him, Ning Shu felt that his body was restricted. However, when the second world was solved, there would be no more soul fluid. At that time, even if the organization wanted her to send the soul fluid to be purified, she wouldn't have it. What to do next? Do missions or continue to collect soul fluid? This time, he would go to another city to collect. The previous city must have strengthened its defense. If he went there again, it would be more difficult. It wouldn't be good to drag things out as long as possible. It was better to go and collect the soul fluid. Ning Shu entered the second world, and did the same thing as before. She entered the area where the soul fluid was stored, and collected the soul fluid from several pools. Some of the pools had more soul fluid, while others had less. No matter how much there was, Ning Shu didn't refuse it. It felt like stealing coins from a wishing pool. The barrier of the pool was vulnerable under the attack of the ruby ring and soon broke. Ning Shu went to several cities in a row. The amount of soul fluid he collected was more than all the soul stones in the first world. He even filled several spaces in the ring. When no one noticed, he would immediately slip away. As for the chaos that followed, there was no time for him to worry about. When he collected enough soul fluid, he would come back and destroy the institutions that controlled the souls in these cities. Ning Shu had only touched the surface. He didn't know much about the internal situation. He also didn't know how these people dealt with the soul fluid. The soul fluid in this kind of pool was turbid. Although there were still impurities in the processed soul fluid, it was pure. What method did they use to do it? Ning Shu felt that if he mastered this method, he might be able to purify soul power with a little improvement. Ning Shu's heart was restless. As for Yi Lin, who was chosen by the heavenly Tao to overthrow the current situation, Ning Shu didn't have any hope at all. By the time he grew up, it would be too late. More and more souls would be reincarnated into this world, but the souls of this world couldn't enter the world of reincarnation. Then the world of reincarnation wouldn't be able to make ends meet. Without soul power to support the world of reincarnation, she would have to rely on artificial feeding. How strenuous it would be. /BK. Chapter 2508. There were 5 such huge cities in this world. Ning Shu stepped on all 5 of them to get a feel of them and took away some of the soul fluid. Ning Shu stood in the air and stretched out vines. These vines covered the sky and the earth and grew rapidly, covering the entire city. These vines, which were as thick as an arm, pierced through the walls and crawled all over them. The entire city was covered by the vines. As long as the vines exerted their strength, the entire city would be turned into ruins. Ning Shu floated in the air and looked at the chaos in the city. The ordinary people were even more uneasy. Children were wailing, chickens and dogs were restless, and the streets were packed with people. It was all because of Ning Shu's sudden actions that the situation became chaotic. Who dares to cause trouble? Experts constantly flew over to Ning Shu. The small black dot grew bigger and bigger, and soon it was in front of him. Who are you? How dare you cause trouble? A soul body, Ning Shu angrily rebuked. His soul was very strong and looked no different from a real person. Apart from the experts who had arrived first, many other guard generals also arrived one after another. Ning Shu smiled and said, "I'm just saying hello. If I don't make a big commotion, you won't pay attention to me. This woman must be crazy. Since you want to provoke me, you should be mentally prepared for the consequences. This is not a place that just anyone can provoke." Ning Shu grunted. The vines pierced into the city wall, and the wall began to crack. Of course I'm prepared. I can destroy this city in minutes. As for me, I'm not here to cause destruction. I'm here to talk about cooperation. Ning Shu's face was serious. Hee, to say that you're here to talk about cooperation, are you stupid or am I stupid? Of course it's because you're an idiot. I'm not an ordinary person, so of course I have to make a grand entrance. What's wrong with that? Moreover, if I were to go through the proper channels, would you have come to see me? Now that I've gathered everyone here, you should thank me, Ning Shu said modestly. No need to thank me. Are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? She must be retarded. However, when they saw the vines covering the sky and drowning the entire city, no one dared to act rashly. They wanted to see what this crazy woman was going to do. When some people saw that Ning Shu was a spiritual body, they could more or less guess why she had come. What did the city have? What was the most precious thing? Souls. They were probably here for the soul fluid. However, if they were to give the item away so directly, where would they put their face? In the future, if anyone came to make a scene and gave the item away, wouldn't it make them seem like they were easy to bully? He hadn't even caught the thief who stole the soul fluid in the city, and now a crazy woman had appeared, and she didn't seem to be weak either. Ning Shu said with a kind face, "This time, I'm here to discuss something with you. I hope you can agree. As long as you agree, I'll leave immediately without delay." Everyone rolled their eyes at Ning Shu. Although they were not convinced, they still listened to Ning Shu. Ning Shu ignored their rolling eyes and said with a smile, "I don't have any other requests. I just want some soul fluid to strengthen my soul." Sure enough, that was the case. Licking your bare face to ask for soul fluid, you're shameless. Your face is really thick. These people were usually high and mighty in the city. Wherever they went in the city, they were respected. Now that they were treated like this, and it was obvious that she was here to rob them, they didn't have the self-restraint to speak nicely to Ning Shu. They sneered and said, "Who do you think you are? Do you think we'll give you the item?" Ning Shu immediately put on a straight face. "If you don't give me the item, I'll destroy the entire city and drown it. I'll send a flood to drown the entire city." Hee. Send a flood? Who do you think you are? Ning Shu stretched out his hand and snapped his fingers. The vines that covered the entire city extended and even wrapped around the houses, uprooting them from the ground. A house was destroyed just like that. More and more cracks appeared on the city wall. Under the effect of these vines, the towering city wall was full of cracks and was about to collapse. "Wah, help, there's a demon." The cries of children were mixed with the screams and fearful voices of ordinary people. Of course, the word demon was also used to describe Ning Shu. "Stop. What are you trying to do?" An old man looked at Ning Shu. "Even if you want the soul fluid, it has nothing to do with the ordinary people in the city. Why do you want to trample on them?" Ning Shu laughed. The old man didn't really love the people and treat them well. It was just that these people were his property. If his property was damaged, of course he would be angry. "How can that be? I didn't kill anyone. I only destroyed the city's buildings. Besides, if these people die, aren't you going to refine them into soul fluid?" Ning Shu spread his hands and said, "Then what do you want?" These people pretended to be obedient to Ning Shu and waited for more people to come. No matter how strong this person was, he couldn't defeat all the experts in the city. Ning Shu snapped his fingers and used the vines to wrap everyone in the city and directly put them outside the city. These people were suddenly wrapped up by the vines and flew in the air. They were so frightened that they were foaming at the mouth. What is the meaning of this? The old man saw Ning Shu take the people away. These people in the city were the same as pigs, dogs, cows, and sheep in their eyes. They were the property of the city. Seeing Ning Shu do this, his eyes immediately turned red. Cutting off someone's path to wealth was like killing their parents. Ning Shu's actions made the experts in the city think that he was here to steal people. Ning Shu moved his neck and stretched his body. "Of course I'm here to negotiate with you. Since you said that it has nothing to do with these ordinary people, I naturally won't hurt them." Some guards took advantage of the chaos to kill people and then put their souls into spirit tools. At this time, they were still thinking about their business. It was better to gather everyone outside the city. "What do you want?" Ning Shu sat on the vines and leisurely swung his legs. He lightly said, "I want 80% of the city's soul fluid. I want 80%. Why don't you go to the heavens?" Someone blurted out. "Who do you think you are to think of such a request? Who do you think you are? This bastard's skin is so thick. 80%? Scram. It seems that there is no way to negotiate." The old man's expression was cold. He looked at Ning Shu with eyes full of killing intent. You really think that just anyone can come and take advantage of you? You're old, so you need to cultivate your body and mind. Don't be so hot-tempered. Let's talk some more. You also need to think about this city. The horses are going to become ruins. Ning Shu said leisurely. He sat on the thick vine as if he was swinging. /BK. Chapter 2509. You're going too far. You're here to pick a fight. You're doing this on purpose, a young man said. Ning Shu shook his head. I'm not here to pick a fight. I'm here to sincerely seek cooperation. Give me 80% of the soul fluid each time, and I'll retreat. How about that? What a bluff. Did he really think that he would scare them? If they were really weak, the other cities would have bullied them long ago. They wouldn't have to wait for this person. Everyone took out their spirit weapons. Some of them even formed a formation. Under the effect of the formation, everyone's strength doubled. Ning Shu's expression was indifferent. Then there's nothing to talk about. Since there's nothing to talk about, then let's destroy this place. Ning Shu snapped his fingers. The vines covering the city spread out, destroying one house after another. The city walls were on the verge of collapse. It was like a horse that was about to fall. Dust filled the air. The rumbling sounds of the collapse caused the ground to shake, making it hard for people to stand. With a rumbling sound, one side of the city wall collapsed. The towering city wall smashed down, covering a large number of houses. She was simply crazy. She said that she would destroy the city. She was too damn willful. He thought that it was a rare soul fluid, but now it seemed that it wasn't. Kill her. Whoever kills her can use the soul fluid as much as they want. The old man was so angry that his face was smoking. This crazy person suddenly barged in here and asked for 80% of the soul fluid. Now, she even destroyed the city. It would take a long time to build such a big city. Moreover, the other cities were eyeing covetously, wanting to snatch people away. In fact, the population of each city wasn't very strong. Therefore, population was the most important wealth. Ning Shu wrapped her body in an enchantment, and all kinds of attacks landed on her enchantment. Ning Shu looked at the white-bearded old man. He guessed that this person was the highest ruler of this city. To shoot a man, shoot the horse first. To capture the bandits, capture the king first. First, he would deal with this old man. Ning Shu used the law of water. Just like how he dealt with the Li family ancestor, he destroyed the old man's body. The old man's face flushed red, but he used his cultivation base to control his body's reaction. Although Ning Shu was slightly disappointed, it was within his expectations. This was the second level after all. The cultivators here were much stronger than those in the first level. The old man looked at Ning Shu in shock and murmured, "The power of laws. Other than cultivating one's own strength, one had to comprehend the heaven and earth. What was comprehending the heaven and earth to comprehend? It was comprehending the laws of the heaven and earth. Using the powers of the heaven and earth, one could kill the other party instantly." The old man did not expect the other party to be so young. With such a young face, it meant that he had died at a very young age. He actually knew about the power of rules. The vines fought with these people. The vines were very stiff. Some people had their bodies pierced by the vines. Their bodies were sucked dry and turned into soul bodies. The old man looked at Ning Shu with some apprehension and activated the city's great formation. This formation was extremely powerful and could lock onto a person's position and accurately attack the person it locked onto. Its power was extraordinary. This kind of person who knew about the power of rules was very difficult to deal with. It seemed that today's matter could not be resolved. He gave 80% of the soul fluid. The other party was obviously here to extort. However, it was not possible to fight head-on. He hoped that the power of the formation could kill this person. Ning Shu felt a little dangerous. The entire city dimmed under the effect of the formation. She seemed to have been locked onto by something. Streaks of flame-like attacks attacked her. These flames were purple. At a glance, the purple flames seemed to have an extremely high temperature. Moreover, they flew towards Ning Shu with great precision. As the flames approached, the temperature became higher and higher. Even the air was distorted by the heat. Ning Shu hated fire the most. Perhaps it was because both of her attributes countered fire, but she felt that fire was really annoying. Ning Shu pointed with her finger. A lot of water condensed in front of her. The water rushed towards the flames. However, Ning Shu did not expect the flames to be so powerful that they could even burn water. Ning Shu released more water. Fire could burn everything. However, if there was enough water, it could also extinguish the fire. The water in the city's well and the river water in the moat surged up and rushed towards the flames. The water and the flames separated. A lot of gas was evaporated. It was a vast expanse of white. Everyone stared at the situation of water and fire mixing in the sky. It seemed that no one could do anything to the other. Streams of water rushed out of the ground and condensed together to rush towards the flames. What kind of flame was this? What kind of flame was this? Ning Shu was very curious. This kind of flame was everywhere in the world. This purple flame was so powerful. How could it be produced? The water and fire were slowly nibbling at each other. The air was distorted and a lot of steam filled the surroundings. Damn it. The old man wanted to curse. Where did this person come from? This kind of flame was an invincible weapon. As long as there was a spark, an ordinary person would be burned to nothing. One attack could destroy the entire city. It was the best attack to defend against the enemy. There were a few times when the people who wanted to fight for the ownership of the city were burned to ashes by this kind of flame. However, it was actually unable to swallow this crazy woman. This kind of rule that could casually collect water for one's own use was simply enviable. If they did not kill her, there would be endless trouble in the future. Who knew if she would come to extort them every 2 or 3 days? Who could stand it? The key was that her strength was a little scary. She used vines to destroy the city. Then she released some water. Was she going to drown the city? There was really no way to deal with this kind of lunatic. Especially a lunatic with more killing power. It was a pity that this kind of formation needed a period of time before it could release the flames again. Otherwise, with so many people, no one would be able to get close to her. Ning Shu was very afraid of death. He set up barrier after barrier around his body to prevent anyone from doing anything to him. Ning Shu said, "Do you want to give me 80% of the soul liquid?" Everyone present had a stupefied face. Was this person crazy? You destroyed the city. Not to mention 80%, you didn't even have 10%. Was it easy to build a city? They didn't expect that he didn't seem to want the soul liquid. If he really wanted the soul liquid, he wouldn't have destroyed the city. The vines had destroyed the city beyond recognition, except for the largest palace surrounded by a barrier. The palace should have been filled with soul fluid. With the barrier, the vines couldn't get in. However, the places where there was no enchantment were almost completely destroyed, with dilapidated walls and dilapidated walls. Seeing that their homes were destroyed, some people covered their faces and cried. Some hot-blooded men were cursing Ning Shu who destroyed their homes. This was a demon. Relying on his strength, he destroyed the place where they lived. /BK. Chapter 25:10. When Ning Shu heard these people's angry curses, he just grinned. Don't expect everyone to understand and support what you do. So what did other people's opinions have to do with me? If you have the ability to scold me, come fight me if you have the ability. What's the point of only talking? I like it when you hate me but I can't do anything about it. I like it when you scold me for being a bully. The fusion of water and fire in the sky was about to end. The purple flame had no help, but the water here had endless help. A lot of water was constantly added. Finally, the purple flame was successfully extinguished. Although it was extinguished, the heat it emitted was still unbearable. It was as if they were close to the sun, sweating profusely. Ning Shu was worried that the water flame was so hot. Could it evaporate the law of nothingness? However, if it could even solve the water, it probably couldn't solve the law of nothingness. Could it weaken the law of nothingness? For the law of nothingness, Ning Shu was worried sick. Ning Shu asked the old man, "What kind of flame is this? It's so powerful." The old man was speechless. Am I familiar with you? In the middle of a fight, you actually ask me what kind of flame it is. Even if I know what it is, I won't tell you. Who the hell are you? Seeing that the old man didn't speak, Ning Shu asked the others. Everyone was stunned by Ning Shu's shamelessness. Why should I tell you? You destroyed the entire city and still expect others to answer your questions? Can you be more shameless? Seeing that no one answered him, Ning Shu didn't hesitate anymore. Can you give me 80% of the soul fluid? And I want the purer soul fluid. Is that okay? It was impossible to communicate with such a crazy person. The old man said coldly, "You barged in here and destroyed the city. Where can I find 80% of the soul fluid for you?" Even if it was a deal, he would ask for a sky-high price. How could he start a fight just because of a disagreement and end up destroying someone else's business? Ning Shu said with some annoyance, "Then you should have said so earlier. I thought you wouldn't agree, so I was angry." Everyone was speechless. "Then take me to see how you purify the soul fluid," Ning Shu said to them. Who gave her the courage to bully others like this? The old man's face was gloomy, and he didn't say anything. He sized up Ning Shu, and after a while, he asked, "Which city are you from?" The relationship between the cities was not good, and they all wanted to annex each other's cities, obtain the population of the cities, and collect souls. Which city did this idiot come from? Ning Shu rolled his eyes and said, "The city of Wei sent me. If you give me 80% of the soul fluid, I will let this city go. How about it?" He put his hands on his hips and said arrogantly. Everyone rolled their eyes in unison, expressing their disgust at Ning Shu's words. Ning Shu was too lazy to bother with these people. He took the ruby ring and went to the palace where the soul fluid was stored. "What are you doing?" Everyone blocked in front of Ning Shu, not letting Ning Shu go to the palace. That place was where the most precious soul fluid was stored. They couldn't let this crazy woman snatch it away. Ning Shu pointed his finger and set up a barrier to lock these people in. When they arrived in front of the palace, except for the palace, everything was destroyed beyond recognition. "What did you do?" Many people were locked up in the barrier, and they attacked the barrier. Ning Shu appeared in the palace in a flash, took out the ruby ring, and shot a few rays of light at the barrier of the pool, and quickly collected the soul fluid in the pool. The old man who rushed over saw that the soul fluid in the several pools were empty, and his face suddenly twitched with heartache. Ning Shu walked into the palace, and as soon as he walked in, he felt a wave of heat hit his face. It was as if he was in a huge furnace. An endless stream of soul fluid was evaporated and turned into a gaseous state. Finally, this gas went through a special channel to the palace next door. But the palace on the other side was cold and freezing. Once the soul fluid gas entered, it condensed into a liquid, drop by drop. Ning Shu suddenly realized that this was the principle of distilling water, and the distilled soul fluid was a bit purer. But the 7 emotions and 6 desires mixed in the soul, the poison of the soul couldn't be removed in this way. So the soul fluid was still not pure. Ning Shu was a bit disappointed. He thought that these people would have some profound method to purify the soul. But it turned out that this kind of physical method was useless. But there was a lot of soul fluid inside, and Ning Shu hurriedly put it away, making the people behind him angry. They only hoped that this guy would take the things and leave quickly. Ning Shu plundered everything in the city, and finally sighed, very dissatisfied. He shook his head and said, "I'm so disappointed. Why is there so little soul fluid?" Ning Shu flew away and left the city. On the way, he used the vines to sweep away everyone outside the city. "Stop for this old man." The old man saw that Ning Shu was about to take the people away and immediately roared. He really thought that he was afraid of her and wanted a yard after taking an inch. "City Lord, save us, save us." The people who were entangled by the vines begged the old man for help in fear. In one night, their home was gone, and now they were going to be taken away by this red-clothed woman. They were too scared. "Put them down. They are the subjects of my city." The old man's face was gloomy, and it looked like he was going to start a fight. Ning Shu said, "The people in your city are valuable. I will definitely take them away. Otherwise, let me go without any harvest." "Damn it, All the soul fluid in the palace was taken away. What else do you want? Moreover, the families didn't have much soul fluid left. What do you want to do if you are not satisfied? City Lord, save us. The people who were entangled shouted for help. The women wept softly, and the children cried out in fear. Compared to such a turbulent and unpredictable fate, everyone was willing to live a stable life. With the protection of the city, they didn't have to face the spirit beasts outside the city, and they didn't have to worry about being eaten by spirit beasts. As for their souls being taken away by the city lord, it was not a big deal. The outside world was full of danger. If they could exchange their souls for peace, it was a very worthwhile thing. Even if Ning Shu told these people that their souls would be turned into soul fluid and there would be no next life, these people wouldn't care. They couldn't care about it in this life, so why care about the next life? It really didn't matter whether there was a next life or not. Ning Shu's appearance broke the peaceful situation and made these people face the dangers of the outside world alone. It was like a fish leading a domestic animal to face the wild animals outside. It was obvious who would live and who would die. Therefore, these people wouldn't be grateful to Ning Shu. Even if they knew the inside story, they still wouldn't be grateful to her. /BK Chapter 25:11. It was very difficult to adapt to this cruel environment. Not everyone had the ability to work hard to adapt to the environment. It was just like some people in modern times who couldn't adapt to society. Ning Shu was tired of this old man's pestering. Moreover, this old man was the city lord. If he killed him, the city would be destroyed, and Sun Dai would destroy the palace that contained the soul fluid. Even if the city was destroyed, these people would still be there. It was too easy to build another city. To a certain extent, these people relied on the protection of the city's experts, but the price was their souls. And the ordinary people in the city were willing to accept such an exchange. Ning Shu's arrival was really annoying. Ning Shu took out the ruby ring and directly shot a ray of light at the old man. The old man used a spirit weapon to block the time ray. As soon as the spirit weapon came in contact with the time ray, it dimmed and was annihilated into ashes, disappearing. The old man was shocked. What was this thing that was so powerful? Ning Shu released another ray of light at the old man. The old man had already seen the power of this ray of light, so he naturally didn't dare to use his body to take it head-on. He hurriedly dodged the ray of light. Ning Shu trapped him with a barrier and then released a ray of light. The old man couldn't move and could only watch as the ray of light hit his body. The ray of light drilled into his body. It didn't hurt or itch, as if he didn't feel anything. However, his body became more and more bent, the age spots on his face became more and more serious, and more wrinkles appeared. If he was a strong old man before, then now he was an old man with one foot in the grave. This old man's cultivation was profound, so he could withstand the 10,000 years of the time ray of light. If it was an ordinary person, there wouldn't even be ashes. Ning Shu shot another ray of light. The old man couldn't resist anymore and directly turned into ashes. City Lord, the city lord is dead. When the people tied up by the vines saw that their biggest backer was killed by this demon, they immediately cried. Even a man couldn't help but have red eyes. Ning Shu used the time ray to destroy the palace where the soul fluid was stored. Under the time ray, these buildings were turned into dust and ashes. Some of the families in the city had already packed up and fled. They were probably going to other places to develop. After doing this, Ning Shu grabbed a person and asked, "How did that purple flame come about?" Ning Shu was very curious about water's flame. If it was placed in the law of nothingness, would it evaporate the law of nothingness? In order to deal with this kind of purple flame, she almost drained all the water in this area. She was afraid that this place would become a desert in the future, because Ning Shu used all the water to put out the fire. The person who was grabbed by Ning Shu was trembling in fear. Although he was strong, he could only admit defeat in the face of such a ferocious Ning Shu. He said, "It's from the formation." "Where is the formation?" Ning Shu asked again. In the end, Ning Shu found a cave under a pile of ruins. he found that the array formation in the secret room was quite complicated. The core of the array formation was a large purple stone. The air around the stone was distorted. When Ning Shu approached, his hair curled into an afro from the heat. When he touched the purple stone, he immediately retracted his hand. Ning Shu stretched out his vines to wrap around the stone. In the end, the vines were roasted into crispy instant noodles. Ning Shu lowered the temperature of his soul and approached the purple stone. He swapped his hands and stuffed the basin-sized purple crystal into the spatial ring. When he stuffed it in, the spatial ring became boiling hot. He hoped that the spatial ring could last for a while. After getting what he wanted, Ning Shu was satisfied and dragged the person wrapped in the vines away. Along the way, everyone was crying, afraid of their fate. When they reached a mountain range, Ning Shu let go of the vines. After thinking about it, he threw down a few cultivation manuals. Without the protection of the city, these people had to face the dangerous outside world alone. If these people did not have the ability to protect themselves, they would only be captured by other cities and become soul storage devices. Ning Shu turned and left. After flying for a while, he turned back and hid himself to listen to these people's plans. As people who were controlled and restrained, once they were free, they did not know what to do. They were very afraid and did not know what to do. These people were the same. Some young adults decided to bring their families to other cities, hoping that other cities would take them in. Ning Shu was speechless. What was she after? Ning Shu rolled his eyes and turned to leave. These people had no cultivation. It would take a long time for them to walk to a city. Perhaps as they walked, they would think of settling down and not going to a city. Ning Shu wanted to let these people live freely and rebuild their homes. They did not need to live in a huge city. After death, their souls would go to where they should go. Ning Shu went to another city and used the vines to destroy a city. He stole the soul fluid, destroyed the palace, killed the city lord, and completely destroyed the city. Then he put these ordinary people in a place. Regarding the sudden change, these people were the same as the people before. They were not satisfied with such a change. After destroying 2 cities in a row, Ning Shu did not want to do any more. The law of wood was about to run out of energy. Even the water droplets on the surface had become dim. Secondly, the space in the ring that contained the purple crystal was about to be melted by the crystal. He felt that he had found a strange thing. With such a high temperature, if he put it in the system space, it would probably melt. How should he deal with it? This time, he had collected a lot of soul fluid and was very satisfied. Out of the 5 cities, he had already dealt with 2. When he was free, he would deal with the remaining 3. It was time to go back and deal with the purple crystal. As usual, he threw down a few cultivation manuals. Some were martial arts manuals, some were immortal cultivation manuals. Not everyone could cultivate immortality. Martial arts manuals did not pick spiritual roots. Ning Shu opened the black hole and entered it. He appeared in the world of samsara. Then he hurried to the city of wood to get the Peerless Martial Arts Manual. Holding the Peerless Martial Arts Manual, he rushed to the consultation room and waited for the silver-haired man to come out. The space in the ring was a little hot. Ning Shu put it on the table. The space in the ring began to melt. Drops of viscous liquid dripped on the table, corroding the table until it was full of holes. The silver-haired man came out. Seeing the broken Peerless Martial Arts Manual, he said without changing his expression, "Are you going to start messing around again? There's no time to explain. I have to go in." Ning Shu picked up the scalding hot ring space and rushed into the Peerless Martial Arts Manual. The silver-haired man sat down calmly and took a piece of paper to wipe the viscous liquid that corroded the table. Looking at the pockmarked table, the silver-haired man calculated the value of the table in his mind. He would later ask the person who destroyed his item to pay for it. Ning Shu took out the scalding purple crystal from the ring space, hesitating whether to throw it in. /BK. Chapter 25:12. He did not know what the purple crystal was or how it was formed to have such high energy. Ning Shu steeled his heart and threw the purple crystal into the law of nothingness. Once the purple crystal entered the law of nothingness, It was like putting an effervescent tablet into water. It kept bubbling. Then the entire law of nothingness started boiling and bubbling. Just like boiling water, it kept bubbling. Apart from bubbling, there was no other reaction. This reaction was a good sign. Perhaps the law of nothingness had been boiled dry and evaporated. Ning Shu sat by the lake and looked at the boiling lake with his chin propped up. Boiling, boiling, boiling. Apart from boiling, there was no other reaction. Ning Shu had been waiting and waiting all this time. The entire lake was shrouded in mist, making it impossible to see what was going on in the lake. Ning Shu was a little sleepy from waiting. He propped up his chin and looked at the bubbling lake. After a long time, the bubbling in the lake subsided. Ning Shu sighed. It seemed that the purple crystal could not solve the law of nothingness because it was showing signs of weakness. One was only the size of a wash basin and the other was so big. In terms of size, it was impossible to win. Ning Shu added some vitality water into the world and made sure that the law of nothingness would not have a violent reaction. Only then did he use the peerless martial art. The silver-haired man saw Ning Shu come out and close the book. Ning Shu asked, "How much?" "It should be 10,000. 50,000, the silver-haired man said. Ning Shu was expressionless. Why is it suddenly so expensive? He could not accept such a sky-high price. How could he do business like this? Business should be honest and treat people honestly. It was still 10,000 last time. This time, it suddenly became 50,000. The silver-haired man tapped the table. The compensation for the table is added together. Ning Shu looked at the potholed table. What table costs 40,000 merit points? A luxury item, the silver-haired man said. Why is a luxury item so fragile? A table costs 40,000 merit points. Go rob a bank. Which luxury item is durable? Do you want to buy a luxury item and pass it down as a family heirloom? The silver-haired man said calmly. Ning Shu was speechless. What the fuck, I can't refute that. Ning Shu took out his identity card and swiped 50,000 merit points. Since I've already compensated you, this table is mine. You can move away, the silver-haired man said. Ning Shu looked at the potholes on the table. It really didn't look good. He couldn't find a place to put it after he moved it back. He asked, "Is there anything special about your table?" Luxury goods. What kind of defensive function does it have? Does it have the effect of calming the mind? It's a simple table, a luxury item, the silver-haired man said. She must be crazy to argue with him about this table. She sat down and asked, "I can be considered your regular customer, right? I've spent a lot of money on you." Ning Shu hooked his finger. "Come closer, let's talk quietly. Do you have any questions?" The silver-haired man asked. "Yes, I want to ask about star stones. Can you really sell me some? There shouldn't be many people who want star stones, right? Besides, planes are born and destroyed. Those planes that have already been destroyed must have star stones. My law of nothingness can't hold it any longer. I can't move it away, hammer it, or cook it," Ning Shu said. "The price can be negotiated. I remember telling you before that this thing is not for sale," the silver-haired man said, shaking his head. "Ning Shu, can't even be bought with money? You're a profiteer, yet you're not moved by money." Ning Shu felt that the silver-haired man was a failed profiteer. The silver-haired man was silent for a while. Ning Shu saw that there was hope. He asked, "What do you think?" "This is not for sale. As for whether the organization has a stockpile, I really don't know," the silver-haired man said. "You can go and get it from plane to plane." "If I can get this thing from plane to plane, why would I look for you?" The silver-haired man shook his head. "Then I can't help it." "Then tell me who has this thing. I'll buy it," Ning Shu said to the silver-haired man. The purple crystal was so hot. When it played with the law of nothingness, it might affect the lifespan of the star stones. The silver-haired man thought for a moment. "You can look for an he. The army patrols billions of planes. If there's a plane that's broken or dead, they'll know immediately. They should have star stones." Ning Shu was speechless. He seemed to have offended him just now. "This is an he's contact information." The silver-haired man took out his business card. It's a total of 100,000 merit points. Ning Shu was speechless. He was clearly a profiteer. She thought that the silver-haired man wouldn't be moved by money. Ning Shu accepted the business card. Didn't he and the others know that the silver-haired man was selling their business cards everywhere? Did the silver-haired man give them a share? Ning Shu transferred 100,000 merit points to the silver-haired man and planned to leave with the table. This table isn't perfect. Do you still want it? The silver-haired man saw Ning Shu lift the table. I need this table to remind me to be careful when dealing with you. If he put the ring space on the table, the 40,000 merit points would be gone. The silver-haired man didn't comment. He opened the curtain with a book and went into the inner room. Ning Shu moved the broken table to the city lord's mansion and threw it there. He placed the Supreme Martial Arts Manual in Wood City to absorb energy. He also took a break to let the Law of Wood imprint absorb energy. Using vines in Nine Palace Mountain consumed a lot of energy. When it was almost done, Ning Shu took the Supreme Martial Arts Manual back to the system space. He opened the chat system and entered Enhe's contact information. And he didn't reply for a long time. Ning Shu shook his legs and waited for Enhe's response. People in the army also used this kind of chat system? After waiting for a long time, Enhe finally replied. She directly asked what was the matter. Ning Shu also said very directly, I want star stones. Do you have any? Enhe. You're a military big shot. You don't even have a stone? Ning Shu asked in surprise. How embarrassing would it be if you said you didn't have any? Enhe, yes. Ning Shu, the fuck, what kind of cat disease do these people have? How much can you sell it for? Ning Shu asked. It's not for sale. Ning Shu, the price is negotiable. It's not for sale. Ning Shu was silent. He was too lazy to send a message. He lay on the sofa and stared at the chat interface. And he sent a message, it's not for sale. It's not for sale. That's enough. It's not for sale. What's the point of saying it a few times? You're just trying to raise the price. If you're really not for sale, I'll just cut off the conversation. Seeing that the other party wanted to sell, Ning Shu calmed down. How much? Ning Shu asked. Enhe, there's a big one and a small one. You want the big one and the small one. Ning Shu /BK. Chapter 25:13. Fuck, where's her integrity? She swore that it was not for sale, but now she could choose from the size. Ning Shu said, of course it's big. The bigger, the better. The big one costs 5 million merit points, and the small one costs 3 million merit points, and he said. Ning Shu was so shocked that his face was numb. She was asking for millions of merit points. Ning Shu asked, how big is the big one, and how small is the small one? She couldn't ask for millions of merit points for a stone the size of a fist. She had invested so much, but she didn't see anything. She didn't even see a splash. This kind of persistence without any gains was the most torturous. And he said, the big one is quite big. The big one is more than 10 meters tall and 10 meters wide. The small one is about 5 meters. Ning Shu imagined it. It was really quite big. 10 meters tall and 10 meters wide. Ning Shu had never seen such a big star stone. He always felt that there were a lot of good things in the army. Ning Shu's heart ached. Then he said, I'll have a big one. Sure, pay me first, and I'll send it to you through the system, and he said. After buying a stone, her merit points were almost gone. What could she buy with the remaining hundreds of thousands of merit points? Ning Shu transferred 5 million merit points to Enhe. Not long after, a huge stone shining with starlight appeared in the system space. Ning Shu used vines to wrap the stone into the peerless martial arts space. The law of nothingness was still bubbling, like boiling water. At least there was some reaction. The light of time didn't react at all. In the future, he would find more of this kind of purple crystal. If it evaporated like this, would it evaporate the law of nothingness? He slowly put the star stone into the law of nothingness. The star stone slowly dissolved in the law of nothingness. Such a big piece should be able to last for a long time. Finally, he didn't have to worry about when he couldn't take it anymore. However, he still had to solve this thing quickly. Otherwise, it would be millions of merit points in the future. She had no tax right now, so where was she going to get so much money from? Was she going to rely on selling soul fluid? Things like soul fluid had to be kept for his own use. If he sold it, there would be nothing left. The soul stone mines in the first layer of the world were basically gone, and the soul fluid in the second layer was almost gone as well. Once the world returned to normal, there would be no more soul fluid. The more he used, the less he would get, so he couldn't sell it. Since he had already bought such expensive items, he might as well buy more. He then contacted He. He remembered that He's world seemed to be the world tree. Ning Shu returned to the system space and asked He, "Has your world tree borne fruit?" He, "What the hell?" Ning Shu said, "Goo, fruit, fruit as in fruit." "No, not to mention the results, the flowers haven't even bloomed," He said directly. Ning Shu was speechless. "All right, anything that can repair these worlds is good stuff. Since it's so expensive, I might as well change to another world." Ning Shu asked again, "Then what good world carriers do you have, the best kind?" "All right, Sea of Law then." He said. Ning Shu was speechless. "Then sell me the Sea of Law." "You shouldn't be looking for these things with me, right? I'm not someone who buys things." It seemed that there really wasn't any world carrier worth buying. A single world required 7 world origins. That was too fucking much, it wasn't worth it. Mei Ziqing's world was a single world. Now that he was painstakingly looking for the world origins, he could only form a world after finding all of them. Whether it could produce life was another matter. However, a good world carrier was also very expensive. It was simply too expensive. After chatting, He's contact information disappeared from the chat system. Fortunately, he still had the name card. It was annoying to have to add him as a friend every time. Why did these people's names disappear? Was there some taboo? 2333 said with a bit of despair, "You can really go do missions now." Ning Shu, "But I still have 3 cities to deal with." 2333, "That's enough. It's almost time for the review. You've probably done the least missions. You're even a super quest taker. I bet you haven't done as many missions as an average quest taker and beginner quest takers. Aren't you ashamed?" "What's there to be ashamed of? I'd only be ashamed if I failed a mission. I haven't even done a mission, and I haven't failed. What's there to be ashamed of?" Ning Shu asked. The people in the 3 cities would definitely hide the soul fluid if they heard the news. Where would she go to find the soul fluid? Maybe the next time she went there, it would be an empty city, and everyone would have run away. Maybe the city's upper echelons would absorb all the soul fluid in order to not keep it. There were too many possibilities. Ning Shu asked, "When will the review start?" "I don't know. Maybe the organization will start the review at some point. The time is completely uncertain. According to the organization's nature, they could go crazy at any time." 2333 sighed. Ning Shu felt a little better. "Hey, have you been daydreaming recently?" She had been disconnecting all the time. 2333, "I've always been doing my job. When did I ever daydream? And when I see you being so slutty, I'm burning with anxiety." Ning Shu, "Stop burning with anxiety my ass." Ning Shu didn't feel that 2333 was burning with anxiety at all. Ning Shu was in a dilemma. He wanted to go to 9 Palace Mountain, but he also had to do missions. Do missions, go to 9 Palace Mountain, go to 9 Palace Mountain, do missions. Ning Shu played rock, paper, scissors, and finally said to 2333, "Then let's go do missions." 2333 asked, "Are you doing system quests?" Ning Shu, "Didn't I just do a system mission?" He really doubted that there were that many wild systems. 2333. Of course there are many of these wild systems. There are as many as lice on a cow. Other than me, other systems will also think of ways to deal with these systems and take the energy and fate from these systems for their own use. Ning Shu felt that there were quite a lot of benefits to being a system. At least, as a mission enforcer, She wouldn't be able to absorb the energy from those wild systems. Ning Shu exchanged some fasting pills and was ready to go do missions. The chat system beeped. Ning Shu opened it and saw that it was a message from Mei Ziqing, saying that Xiaohua was back. Xiaohua, the missing person, Xiaohua was back. Ning Shu wasn't in a hurry to do missions. He asked, "How did you come back?" Pan Chen didn't hurt Xiaohua. He had been eyeing Xiaohua covetously. It was a bit strange that Xiaohua was still alive after such a long time. Mei Ziqing, he came back with Pan Chen, but Pan Chen was taken away. Ning Shu decided to meet Xiaohua. He said to Mei Ziqing, "Let's meet at Water City. Bring Xiaohua along." She didn't know how Xiaohua was doing after going out for a walk. And there was also the stone she put on Xiaohua. /BK, you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.